Hello, everybody. Welcome to Townsend 505, or welcome back if you're a viewer. My name's Nick, and joining me on today's video is Scott from SoundLab Studios, or the Scrapyard channel. Uh, on the bottom there is Jason, the old millennial. How you guys doing today?
Doing good, doing good, doing good.
Long time no see, Scott.
Yeah, it's almost like the 600th video.
Today we're going to be counting down our 10 favorite artists. Of course, for me, I feel like it's going to change a lot. Besides number one, I feel like this change is always
Right.
subject to change. Same thing with you guys, probably.
Yeah, number one
Yeah.
seems to be hard to change that one. But yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to change number one anytime soon, but
Right, yeah.
the other ones can flip flop around.
That's true, yeah.
So before we begin with our top 10, what are our honorable mentions?
For me, I put down 8 honorable mentions. I actually put Garth Brooks down here. Might be surprised, but I actually really like a lot of Garth Brooks stuff in the 90s. I was a big Garth Brooks fan. And really was one of the best-selling artists of the 90s. I also put Adele on here, which is, I know, a really recent artist, but her 2 albums, 21, 25, are some of my favorite albums of all time. So I have to recognize her on here. Then I put there's so many that, I couldn't believe I couldn't get them in my top 10. There's so many good artists, of course, and bands and whatnot. But Billy Joel didn't get in there, and definitely was one I wanted to get in there, but not quite. Also, Phil Collins, huge Phil Collins fan from the 80s, period, especially. He's one of my favorite artists. Bob Dylan, obviously, that's a huge one that I can't believe I didn't get on my list. But I do like Bob Dylan. I'm probably not like as big a fan as some people, but like I'm a fan though. I like a lot of stuff like I-161 Visited and Blonde on Blonde and Another Side of Bob Dylan, of course, Blood on the Tracks. But he has some bad stuff too as well.
Because must be Santa. It must be Santa.
Yeah, because he has so many albums. It's just he's bound to have bad ones. But anyways, John Lennon, I didn't get in here, which I'm kind of surprised I couldn't get him on here as well. But again, his solo work, he has good stuff, but obviously he died too young. He could have put out, if he would have lived longer, I'm sure he would have put out some more great stuff. But he kind of towards the end, he kind of faded away a little bit. But anyways, then the two big ones here that I can't believe I couldn't get in here. Two closest one to get in here one is Jim Croce, because I absolutely love Jim Croce. He's one of my favorite singer songwriters. I just couldn't quite get him in there. And then the other one is the Beach Boys. I couldn't get the Beach Boys in here. Really wanted to get them in the top 10, but just right outside.
You're going to be surprised what's on my honorable mention list, because some of them are...
There's a reason. No one said Queen yet, but I'm here anyways. Plus, they'll be said at some point. That's why I did that Queen.
Some of my favorite artists are actually going to be in the honorable mention list, just because I have more than 10 favorite artists. But the Police, yeah, I know, hard to believe they're not in my top 10, because I love the Police so much.
Yeah.
Steely Dan, that's another one that's not in my top 10.
Wow.
Top 15, but not top 10.
Wow, that's crazy. I surely would think they would be in your top 10.
Yeah.
When you see who is on my top 10, you'll see why. But the Eagles.
Oh wow.
Another one that's hard to believe is not in my top 10.
Surprising. Yeah.
Billy Joel.
Oh
man, I'll listen to these. It's like, how are these not in my top 10? I don't. Again, you'll see whenever you see my list. Elton John.
Oh
man, I really wanted to put Elton John in my top 10. For some reason, like, it just didn't end up working. Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh man.
Like, all these artists is like, I gotta have them on here, but there's only 10 slots.
Yeah.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash,
which
is an artist I've been into more recently. Let me just relook through. real quick just to make sure there's nobody I'm missing. I'm just looking through my album collection.
Well, there's a lot. There's a lot of artists I'm going to be mentioning. So,
Pink Floyd, that's the one. That's the one that I was missing. Pink Floyd.
Okay. I have a big honorable mentions. Crosby, Stills and Nash, big one. They can't be in my top 10 because they have some. It's like what Scott said about the Beach Boys. They made some of the best sounds, but then they made some of the worst albums.
Yeah.
It's funny because like Simon and Garfunkel made my favorite song of all time, and Crosby, Stills and Nash made your favorite song of all time, and yet they're not in our top 10 artists.
Yeah. Billy Joel, great artist. Elton John, ABBA. I'm really upset ABBA is in there. Hermits. Taylor Swift. Police.
Really? Is that just an objective thing, or do you like her now?
She made a 10 out of 10 album, so that's why she's an honorable mention.
I guess it's more just the toxic fan base.
Yeah.
I will admit she does have some pretty good songs.
Yeah.
Simon Garfunkel, Fleetwood Mac,
Oh, Fleetwood Mac. Yeah.
Oh, Fleetwood Mac. That's in my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Beach Boys, John Lennon,
Yeah.
The Beatles,
The Beatles.
Eagles, Alan Parsons Project,
Oh, hey.
The Byrds, Johnny Cash,
Good one.
Pink Floyd, Black Sabbath, George Harrison, Ringo Starr, Stevie Wonder, Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Yeah.
I'm really sad he isn't on here. John Denver, Small Faces, and lastly Paul McCartney.
Oh, wow. There's some big ones.
Oh, sorry, I missed one big one on my list.
What?
Genesis / Phil Collins.
Okay. Without further ado, who wants to go first for number 10?
I'll go first. I can already tell by your honorable mentions we're gonna have different lists because you mentioned a lot of my top 10 guys in your honorable mentions, so this will be interesting. But number 10, I'm going with Eagles, which we talked about on my video in the 1970s Music Hall of Fame. We just inducted them, and Scott talked about them, and man, I had to put them in here because the amount of hit songs. Again, when I think of all these artists, I think of they have just tons and tons of hit songs that I absolutely love. And Eagles is one of those bands that, man, they have their hit songs are in the at least 20. I can probably name 20 like songs that are just absolutely amazing.
What is it?
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, Tyler.
Goodbye.
Obviously, the first big hits are like, what I love about them, and Scott's mentioned on my channel, that the harmonies are just bar none some of the best harmonies I've ever heard, and I love bands that have harmonies, as you'll see on my list. I love harmonies. They're kind of they have they're a bit of country rock. I've heard kind of sounding kind of is what the genre they kind of are, but they have this like really great, just sounding laid back, just chill sound. Sometimes I love like Take It Easy, Peaceful Easy Feeling, some of their first big hits. I just love those songs. And then of course, Desperado is actually my favorite album of theirs. I mean, Desperado.
I agree. That's my favorite album too.
And it's not a trifecta. I'm basically mine Hotel California, which is funny because I was like dead set on not having Hotel California as my favorite Eagles album when I listened to this discography, just because everyone's like, it's the best Eagles album. I'm like, no, I am dead set that One of These Nights is going to be my favorite Eagles album. I even listened to One of These Nights. I'm, yep, that's it. They can't top that album. Nope. I listened to Hotel California and I was like, it actually is the best Eagles album.
Eagles is the band I have the longest history with.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks to Briar's mom. But yeah, Tequila Sunrise, Desperado. And yeah, then Hotel California is obviously a masterpiece. Hotel California is my favorite song of theirs. And it's not
I can agree with that one too.
It's more of a rock song, but I love it for that double guitar solo at the end. I think it's one of the greatest guitar solos. I just absolutely love that guitar solo at the end with a Wash and a Fielder. And that's not even the original band members, but I love the Wash Fielder guitar duo.
that's my favorite lineup, the Hotel
That's my
California lineup.
Yeah.
Don Henley, Glenn
Don
Fry,
Right.
Joe Walsh, Don Felder, and Randy Meisner. That's
Right.
my favorite Eagles lineup.
Oh, perfect. I mean, like I said, vocally just blend so well together because Henley and Fry are the two really good songwriters, I think, in the band that write most of the hit songs on there and also main singers. But then Randy Meisner can hit you with a really good, he has this incredible high voice. You're like, holy cow, the bass player sings, Take It to the Limit, I think. And it's like, wow, what amazing vocals. So, I mean, they're just, and I think musicianship wise, they are great. The guitar playing is some of the best I've heard. Like I said, with those two great guitar players, I mean, the whole album, yeah, it's a great album. I haven't ventured into a lot of the other albums, but honestly, they got so many hits. I mean, like I said, you can just name a bunch of hits. But yeah, to me, I had to put them in here for their musicianship and the amount of hits and just overall sound. I love the Eagles. Yeah.
Before I get into my number 10, I would like to preface my list.
Okay.
It is called Top 10 Favorite Artists, not Objective Top 10 Best Artists. So prepare to hear a list of a lot of American and British guys who play rock music. It's not a diverse list at all, but it's because it's my favorite artist list, and that's just kind of the music that I'm into. So if you're expecting like jazz or funk, even though I really respect artists who do that, heads up and shout out to Earth, Wind and Fire, Stevie Wonder, everybody who's a great blues musician, jazz, funk, yes, even rap. Even though rap isn't really my thing, just like objectively for the people who rap, hip hop, all the other genres and styles, but that's not what's going to be on my list. So just fair warning. My number 10 is going to be the Beach Boys.
Beach Boys, man.
Which would have been a lot higher on my list earlier on in life, but I found other artists that I like better than them. I would have had them at number 2 at one point in my life, but I just found so many more artists I like better, even though I still respect the heck out of these guys. They're amazing. Brian Wilson is one of the songwriting geniuses, I have my top 5 songwriters of all time, which I should make a video on, but there are 5 particular songwriters that I just hold way above all the others, and Brian Wilson is one of them. The way that he arranges harmonies and knows what a good catchy song should sound like. And Dennis Wilson and Carl Wilson, his brothers, on drums and guitar, are very good. Al Jardine is one of the secret ingredients in their vocal harmonies. He's a very good singer, singing Help Me Rhonda. That's the song he's known for singing. Mike Love can be a bit of a butt, but he is important to their sound, especially if you listen to the California Saga from Holland, which is the greatest thing that he's ever done. Yeah. His voice is also very important in songs like Fun, 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 though. And not to mention just their competition with the Beatles in the 1960s, racing to put out some of the greatest albums of all time. They came out with The Beach Boys Today, which is a very underrated album. Of course, without even being said, Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
Sadly, we never got Smile in 1967, but I've got the Sessions album, which gives an approximation of what the album should have sounded like, and if it was released, it would have been amazing. 2020, great. Surf's Up, Sunflower. Yeah, those early 70s Beach Boys albums are very underrated. But sadly, this artist is known for making some of the best and worst albums of all time. Cough, Cough, Summer in Paradise. But since they're in my top 10, I just like to focus on all the amazing music that they made together. Oh, and Bruce Johnston. Shout out to him. I haven't talked about him yet. He was a big member, more kind of in the 70s,
later period,
especially in the Sunflower album.
Yeah.
My number 10 is going to be Bob Dylan.
Big one.
He is a great solo artist. he had so many amazing albums. He's another artist that made some of the best albums of all time and some of the worst. Cough Cough Christmas album.
Must be said.
Debut album's pretty good. Yet his folk albums are really good.
Mm-hmm.
I know Jason really likes Another Side of Bob Dylan. That's a great album. Then he changes it up halfway through on Bringing It On Home, half electric, half acoustic. Awesome album. Of course, I can't not talk about Highway 61 Revisited. That album is groundbreaking. It's what inspired the Beatles to do Rubber Soul, which would end up inspiring the Beach Boys to do Pet Sounds, which would end up making the Beatles do Sgt. Pepper's.
Yep.
So. Sgt. Pepper's and Revolver, kind of. So we could all thank Dylan for this. He's definitely he's definitely the most influential artist of the 60s. Most people say the Beatles are, but for me, to me, hands down, it's Bob Dylan. If it wasn't for this album, there wouldn't be a Rubber Soul. There wouldn't be a Sgt. Pepper's. There wouldn't be a Pet Sounds. There wouldn't be an Aftermath. It's just he's definitely the most influential artist of the 60s.
Yeah.
In my opinion, of course. Of course, Blonde on Blonde, awesome album. I was talking about that with Jason yesterday on UK Rolling Stones albums.
Inspiration.
They definitely heard this album once and a few tracks of like going off of that style. John Wesley Harding, so far my favorite Bob Dylan album. Just awesome. National Skyline, great album to end off the 60s. After the 60s, he made some really good albums too, like Basement Tapes, Blood on the Tracks, Desire, Street Legal, great albums. He made some really good 80s albums, Infidels. He did become Born Again Christian. He did 3 albums.
Yeah.
2 of them in the 80s. They get better throughout. Empire Burlesque is a really underrated album. Same with Knocked Out Loaded. Love those albums. Down the Groove's pretty good. Oh Mercy's amazing. The 90s, I really like Under the Red Sky, even though it has what people consider to be his worst song, Wiggle Wiggle, which I find to be hilarious. I quite like that song. Around the 90s, his voice starts to get a little raspier, but I still quite enjoy it though. Still, and Time Out of Mind is definitely one of his best albums. It's a great album. Even in the 2000s, he still made some okay songs, okay albums. Like Love and Theft is okay. Modern Times is okay. He did release the worst album, one of the worst albums ever made, Christmas in the Heart. But I could excuse him. But yeah, I can't not put Bob Dylan in the top 10. He's just, to me, the most influential artist in the 60s, and he made some of my albums. He just, I feel like one of us had Dylan in the top 10.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But what's your number 9, Jason?
Bob Dylan probably the most albums out of our list.
Yeah.
Maybe the most prolific songwriter. All right, you guys ready to get the lead out? Well, we got Led Zeppelin at number 9. Which it feels weird putting this low on the list, but it just happens to be right now where I'm putting them. And we're going through them right now on Soundlab Studios album, Soundlab Studios channel. We've gone all the way the first 5 albums right now. The House is Holy we just did recently.
A little over halfway.
So we've been really hitting Led Zeppelin pretty hard lately. I've been listening a lot of Led Zeppelin lately. But Led Zeppelin's band I've always loved since I was a kid. I mean, how could you not? When you first hear, Stairway to Heaven is one of the greatest songs I think I've ever heard in my life. And I remember hearing that for the first time, just being blown away as a kid. I say kid like you're a young teenager when I kind of discovered that. And then after that, you discover Whole Lot of Love, Heartbreaker, Black Dog. Again, there's so many big hits. California, Over the Hill, Far Away. I mean, again, it's one of those. Their songs were all over the radio when I was listening to oldie station. It's like one of those bands you couldn't like. Pretty much everybody on my list like you could not listen to the radio and not hear a bunch of their songs all the time. And so it's hard not to be kind of a fan. And it wasn't until recently that I started going through their albums. And obviously, I know, Scott and Nick and Briar are all big Led Zeppelin fans. So we definitely kind of heightened my knowledge and appreciation of them, and kind of going through their albums. Definitely, to me, I don't know how to say this. They're like the greatest, I want to say, hard rock band for me. Like, that's when people say hard rock, I think Led Zeppelin. And now you might say that's not hard rock, so and so is hard rock. Maybe so. For me, when I think hard rock, I think Led Zeppelin. That's like the hardest I go in rock, if that makes sense. But to me, as far as like that goes, as far as guitar riffs go, they're maybe the best band when it comes to guitar riffs. I love the guitar riffs and the guitar solos. Jimmy Page is one of my favorite guitar players of all time. Obviously, you got John Bonham, who's like considered number one, usually number two best drummer of all time. So yeah, amazing drummer. John Paul Jones and bass is great. And of course, Robert Plant's just amazing vocals. All fit really well with kind of a somewhat bluesy rock and hard rock mix in there. And yeah, so I mean, if you just want to rock out, Led Zeppelin is maybe the best band just to put on and just bang your head and rock out to, for me. I mean, they just have some of the best rock songs of all time. Obviously, Led Zeppelin 4 is one of my favorite albums of all time. 10 out of 10 album that we covered, and it's a masterpiece album. Led Zeppelin 2, I think, is an amazing album, and House is the Holy, I think it's a really good album. I think those are my top three of theirs. Obviously, and Into the Outdoor I like as well. I have to throw that out there. Underrated album, I guess. But
good. It's good to know all three of us like Into the Outdoor.
They only made like 8 albums, and they just have so many amazing songs throughout those 8 albums. Yeah, I had to put them in here as one of the great rock bands, in my opinion, of all time.
My number 9 is going to be Creedence Clearwater Revival.
All right.
Man, these guys are great, and the amount of just great music they put out in just a short period of time is just amazing. They were really only active from like 1968 to 1972, so it's crazy that they have all those great albums, and most of them came out in just 1969.
Yeah.
All of those just absolutely amazing songs written by John Fogerty, his raspy voice, that Born on the Bayou feel, even though they're from California. Their debut was really good. We're going through their albums on Jacob's channel right now. It's really cool to get to introduce them to those ones.
Yeah.
Bayou Country, I really like that one. Green River, we're going to be doing the review for that next week. Willie and the Poor Boys, I love that album. Cosmos Factory is amazing. I really like Pendulum, that one's underrated. There's a little album called Mardi Gras, but I'm willing to overlook that for the just absolutely amazingness of all their other albums and songs.
Yeah, forget that one.
Good. I'm glad CCR's in one of our lists at least.
Yeah, all your guys' lists are like, man, I love those artists. I'm glad someone mentioned them.
Shockingly, Led Zeppelin would not be in my top 10.
No way, really.
What? I want to see Briar's. Briar, would you like to play along, or maybe Briar's planning on doing a list?
He didn't want to
Put it on his channel at some point
He
because
didn't
I
want
remember asking and remember him stepping out on that.
Briar's too good for us, I guess.
My number 9, The Kinks. Plug in the series that me and Jason are doing right now. Might be saying, wow, all those artists you didn't have in your top 10, but these guys at number 9. Why? Why? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you exactly why. King Controversy, Face to Face, Something Else by the Kinks, Village Green Preservation Society, Arthur, and lastly, Lola versus Power Man Part 2. Those are some of the best.
Wait, they made a part 2?
No, they never did. Part 1, I meant, if I didn't say Part 2. But they made some of the best albums ever made. 7 albums are in my top 100 albums of all time. Why aren't they any higher than that? Well, they made some questionable albums in the 70s. Preservation Acts 1 and 2. Yeah, not really good albums, especially Act 2. That album sucks. But they did get back a little with Sleepwalker, Misfits, and Low Budget, and the 80s. They had Give the People What They Want and Stay in Confusion. Those are good albums. But after that, they kind of dip off again in quality. Word of Mouth, Think Visual, UK Jive, and Phobia. I'm not into those albums, but man, the albums they made from '66 to '70 is some of the best albums that was ever put on plastic. Got to build more suspense for my list.
Yeah.
Henry, hey, how you doing?
It's Henry Mockingbird from he's on Jacob's channel a lot.
Yeah.
Henry's a really cool guy. He can do I forget who it was, but he did an impression from How to Train Your. I think he did Gobber from How to Train Your Dragon. That's really funny.
Yeah, they talked about that on there.
Hey, thanks for watching my video, Henry. Appreciate you dropping by. But yeah, that's my number 9 though. The Kinks.
All right.
That's number 9. Now number 8. What's your number 8, Jason?
Number 8 is a British singer, piano player named Reggie. But you probably know him as Elton John. I forget his full name. I think it was Reggie something.
Reggie White.
Reggie White.
Yeah.
Yes, but we know him as Elton John. Man, I absolutely love his singing and piano playing, and I almost want to say songwriting, but I know it's he had a writing partner that wrote the songs. Poppin, I think.
Poppin wrote the words, but Elton John wrote the songs.
He wrote the music, so he had to help with the lyrics, but yeah, he put the music together. And in the 70s, I mean, to me, he's one of the greatest artists of the 70s for sure. And in my opinion, I think I want to say he's maybe the best pop singer of all time. Like, Michael Jackson's the king of pop, but I'm like, for me, Elton John, I don't know if anybody wrote better pop songs than Elton John. I mean, just the name, my favorite is Your Song is absolutely beautiful, beautiful song. His first big hit. I think one of the greatest love songs ever written. But I mean, you got Tiny Dancer, Rocket Man, Daniel, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I mean, it's another one where he has 20, 30 huge hits. I mean, I can make a top 20 easily of like Elton John songs. He just put out so many big hits, mostly during the 70s, I would say, period. And obviously we talked about him just recently. I mean, he had maybe the best. I mean, if not the best, one of the best run of albums of all time. I know there's what do you say, the Dirt Band one,
Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt Cowboy.
But I know you have Hunky Chateau, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road,
Shoot Me on the Piano Player.
Don't Shoot Me on the Piano Player, and Madman Across Water. He had like at least 5 number 1 hits like right in a row. I mean, it was insane how huge he was in the 70s with all of those albums. And I haven't heard all of them. Goodbye Yellow Brick Road is an absolute masterpiece in my opinion. I love that album. Hockey Chateau I think is really good as well. I really quite like that one as well. But yeah, his piano playing, man, he writes some of the best melodies. Some of the best, most beautiful. Sometimes they can be rocking, like Benny and the Jets. He can rock it with the piano, and he can write some great ballads. He goes all over the place, and just really good poppy, catchy rock, pop songs as well. And obviously, he also had a great style. I mean, he's one of the best dressers I think we've ever had, and he's a great performer as well. But yeah, Elton John had to be in here. Too many huge hits for me. I got to get him in here. So
yeah, he's great.
Have you heard his self-titled album, Jason?
I don't think I have. No.
I have a feeling you'd love that album.
Does it have Your Song in it?
Your Song, yeah, that's my favorite Elton John album.
Yeah, okay.
Crocodile Rockin' and you feet just can be still in better time and guess never will.
Guess yeah, you never will. Yeah.
First time I heard Elton John was through the
Bob
Bob. Oh my
What?
god,
What?
that's one way of finding him
You
out.
need to expand on this. I'm curious.
Yes, I am curious too, Briar. I need to know. I really want to know.
I really want to know. Okay,
What's your number 8, Scott?
my number 8, and I'm surprised that I have them on this list now. But in just recently going through their albums, they have bumped up a lot of spaces, and that is the Rolling Stones.
Oh, okay.
These guys are like, if you think rock, the Rolling Stones is probably one of the first bands that comes into your head or out of your head. They've written so many just classic songs like I Can't Get No Satisfaction, Paint It Black, Heart of Stone, Wild Horses, You Can't Always Get What You Want, Give Me Shelter. And just the great thing about the Rolling Stones is that they've managed to stay relevant for almost 60 years now. Throughout the 60s with their sense of style and their edgy personalities, throughout the 1970s and kind of picking up the torch where the Beatles left off and being the biggest rock band in the world until Led Zeppelin took that title from them. To the 80s where they had Tattoo You and Start Me Up became an anthem. The 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and now the 2020s. Apparently the Stones have had a number one hit in every decade from the 60s to the 20s, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's incredible.
But part of the reason I picked them is just for their longevity and their way to stay relevant for all these years and their way to keep going even though they're old.
Yeah. I agree. Not that, but there's a Rolling Stone album for everyone.
Oh yeah.
We were talking about on our list, yeah.
Hey.
I like Good Guy Yellow Brick Road. Nice. Love that album.
Yeah.
I think Elton started it in the Bob the Builder Christmas special. I watched it when I was a kid. They played Crocodile Rock.
Wow. That's one way to get him into Elton John and the kids show.
Yeah. Hi, it's been a while. Hey, what's up, Jordan?
Yeah, it's been a while, Jordan.
Man, I hope Jordan will get on the video after we're done with the video.
Oh yeah, by the way, I'm gonna drop the link down on the video. Whoever wants to join us at the end when we're done. Obviously not now, but after we're done doing our top 10, we're done streaming. The link is down below if you want to join for the after party. My number 8 is going to be a band that was way higher when I really got into them. Like, was addicted. Like, I feel like I was too addicted to them at one point. I think Scott knows who I'm talking about.
Yes.
That is Rush.
Oh,
Oh,
right.
what?
Yes.
I thought it was going to be another band.
No, Yes didn't make it. I don't even think they're an
No,
artist.
I thought it was going to be the Hollies.
Oh, they're higher on the list.
Yeah, Rush.
Yeah, Rush.
Good one. Good one.
Greatest 3-man band of all time. Just the way that all 3 of these guys came together was just magic to me. Debut album, Led Zeppelin Light. Nothing more to add. Fly By Night, awesome second album. I know someone really likes that album amongst the 3 of us.
I have that album now. I found it at the
Oh,
records.
really?
But yeah, Fly By Night's a great album. I've been really getting into that album lately.
Awesome.
Thanks to Jason. I've been listening to it more because of him.
By Tor and the Snow Dog is epic.
I can't believe I said that was Rush's worst song at one point. Oh man, I feel like an idiot. Caress of Steel, one of the most underrated albums of all time. It's an epic album. Bastille Day, I agree with Jason. That song is epic. I think I'm going bald, as Tyler would say, or Scott said. This song does not have the right to go as hard as it does. Lakeside Park, I love that song. It should have been a big hit. The Necromancer and the Found a Labyrinth is like sort of like the footprints as to what the next album is, which is 2112. Awesome album, awesome track. Pharaoh of the Kings, they improve on that sound. Hemispheres, I feel like they get a little too over their heads, and I feel like they go a little too complicated with that one. Even they admit they sort of went a little too far, but they get back on track and they make their three best albums: Permanent Waves, Moving Pictures, and Signals. Amongst those three albums, you get some of their best songs ever. Spirit of Radio, which for the longest time I thought was a deep cut. I never heard that song on the radio until I never heard the song on the radio, so I'm like, this is a great deep cut. Jacob's Ladder is awesome. Entre Nous, Natural Science, Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, YYZ, Limelight, Camera Eye, Witch Hunt. My favorite song by them, Vital Signs. And then you got the entire Signals album, which I could say every song, but I'd say like the two big highlights would be Subdivisions and Losing It.
Yeah, Subdivisions.
It's just some of the best albums ever made, these three albums. It's perfection. After that, I feel like they do drop in quality a little bit with they drop in quality drastically with Grace Under Pressure, in my opinion. I feel like they get too synthy on that album. Power Windows, they bring it back up a little bit. It's a great album. Hold Your Fire is underrated. But everything after that, why they're at number 8, is because I agree with what Jason said. The album's just become a drag afterwards.
Yeah.
A drag.
But yeah, that's my number 8. But before we begin with our number 7s, I'm going to read some comments. I first hear Crocodile in the fairy tale parody Eli Enchanted, not to be confused with Disney Enchanted. Watched it on YouTube in 2007. Ellie Enchanted is a live-action Shrek live movie starring Annie Hathaway. Man, do I feel old for saying it. On YouTube in 2007. Hello. Yeah, Jordan, I see you're in the thing right now waiting to be added on. I'll add you on when we're done with the video. So don't just hang on right now. But Jason, what is your number 7?
Well, guys, I hope I die before I get old, but
Who is it?
who? No.
Yeah, that's what I want to know.
No, who?
Who? I really want to know.
Yes. Yes, it is the Who, 60s, 70s rock band. Yeah, it's another absolutely fantastic rock band of that period. Again, yeah, most of my picks are going to be 60s, 70s musicians, obviously, you can tell. Yeah, I've been a big fan of the Who since I heard Tommy for the first time and was blown away. Like, what is this? Like, I've never heard of I never even knew there's such a thing as a rock opera. I was like, what is that? Like, I never knew that was a possibility. And then I heard Tommy. I was like, okay, I can go on with this. This kind of like, I like musicals, I like rock. It seems like it fit together. And what a kind of interesting album that is. But then, of course, you get in. Then I heard Who's Next, and I was like, okay, this is like one of the best albums I've ever heard in my life. And still to this day, it's one of the greatest albums, in my opinion, of all time. Won't Get Fooled Again is like one of the greatest rock songs of all time, in my opinion. I listen to that all the time, and I still get blown away by just listening to the bass, the drums, the guitar. I'm just like, holy cow, they're all just amazing. Again, kind of like what I said with Led Zeppelin. I mean, it's some of the best musicianship I've ever heard in a rock band. Because in my opinion, Keith Moon, probably my favorite rock drummer of all time. He's so fun, so fast. I mean, he's just like a train, John Entwistle got to be the best bass player of all time. I mean, as far as the way he plays is just no one else plays like that. I don't think. He's just picking away with his fingers and just going all over the place. Like, are you playing lead guitar, John Entwistle? I think revolutionized the bass in that way. And then Townsend, man.
505?
Yeah, 505. not only a great guitar player, I think I want to say some of the best guitar strumming I've ever heard. When you're like a Pinball Wizard, I'm like, how does he playing that acoustic guitar? It sounds so he's rocky. It's a acoustic guitar, but he's rocking it. It's like a rock song. And he's I'm like, what the heck? Like he's playing. But also, of course, his use of the synthesizer is just amazing with Bob O'Reilly and like I said, Won't Get Fooled Again. You know, love how he uses that in those songs. And also wrote some great lyrics as well. Like "Hope I Die Before I Get Old." I think is one of the great rock lyrics of all time. Also, "Here's the New Boss, Same as the Old Boss." Always, I thought it was a great lyric. But of course, you even go to "My Generation" album, the debut. I thought it was a really good debut album. Of course, the Who Sell Out was interesting, kind of somewhat concept album that is very unique. Sounds like you're just listening to the radio. Then "Who Are You" is another just absolutely one of the greatest albums I've ever heard. With the title song, one of the greatest rock songs again. Very unique the way they do that. I mean, how they do the synthesizer, how they have they come up with this really interesting middle part, and then they come back to the chorus or whatever. Or they have this. I love how they do their middle parts in some of the big songs. They're just very unique to them. Also, Daughtry, I didn't mention. Great greatest screamer of all time, probably. And they're also maybe the funnest band to watch on stage with Townsend's Windmill. I don't know how to do it. I try doing it on guitar and I'm like, I don't know how he does it. Like there's a trick to it that I haven't figured out, but watching him do that, I watched him smash his guitar after and then Daughtry with his swinging his mic and catching it like, and then Moon just up there. He's just all over the place, just moving around and blowing up drums. I mean, yeah.
John M. also doing all these crazy bass runs and keeping a straight face.
He's the one that doesn't do it. He's the one that's not moving around. Everybody's doing crazy stuff. He's just sitting there, just rocking the bass in that skeleton costume. Yeah. But yeah, they put on some great rock. Yeah, their rock stuff. Absolutely amazing. Their Woodstock, and then when they did the 9/11 thing, I think they had the best set out of everybody. You know, yeah, they're one of a kind, one of the greats, the Who.
My number 7 is the Electric Light Orchestra.
Good one.
I have loved these guys since I first heard Mr. Blue Sky. Perfect mashing of pop and symphony music, putting the orchestra in there. Very Beatles inspired. Jeff Lynne, one of the great musical songwriters, one of the songwriting geniuses. Put out some of the most underrated albums ever made. Like when people are talking about the greatest albums of all time, I rarely hear any ELO albums on there, even though I think they should be on there. Face the Music is just an absolute masterpiece. I love Fire on High and that like freaky beginning, but then it gets epic. I love Evil Woman, Strange Magic. I love Poker and Knight Rider. I love A New World Record. That album is amazing. Tightrope. Telephone Line is one of their best songs. So Fine and Living Thing. Do you want my love? Shangri-La. And of course, Out of the Blue, my favorite double album ever made. Turn to Stone, It's Over, Sweet Talking Woman, On the Border, Night in the City, Stepping Out, the Concerto for a Rainy Day, Birmingham Blues, Sweet as the Night, Starlight, Wild West Hero, Discovery, Diary of Horace Wimp, Shine a Little Love, Confusion, Don't Bring Me Down, On the Run, Time, Hold On Tight, Yours Truly, 2095, Rain is Falling, Secret Messages, Stranger. Yeah, just so many great songs by them. Showdown, that's one I forgot.
That sounds great.
My Mama Belle. Even I'm not too big on their first album, but 105 through 8 Overture is amazing. And their cover of Roll Over Beethoven is epic.
Cool. But I'm glad they got represented. I don't even think, they weren't even in my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
My number 7, the Mamas and the Papas from 60s. So a lot of these artists that are going to be in my there's gonna be a few of these artists that are in my top artists that mainly the reason why they're my top artists is because of the harmonies. Mamas and the Papas had some of the best harmonies ever. They're definitely top 3 in the 60s. Like, my opinion, the 3 best harmonies in the 60s were the Mamas and the Papas and the Beatles are fine in second and third place, but to me the Hollies are the best. Which I'll talk about the Hollies when I get them. They're my list. If You Could Believe Your Eyes and Ears, one of the best debut albums ever. It's a masterpiece. Well, there is one debut album I find to be a little better, but we'll get to that band when we get to there. That's a 10 out of 10 album for me. Songs with Monday. Scott just sung it. California Dreaming. They do the best version of I Call Your Name, much better than the Beatles version. Straight Shooter, awesome rock song. Got a Feeling. Do You Want to Dance? Spanish Harlem, great slow songs. Somebody Groovy, nice song. Really like Hey Girl, You Baby, The In Crowd. These are just awesome songs. Such a great way to. This is the first album I ever owned. Was If You Could Believe Your Eyes and Ears. But it gets even better with the second album. No Song or Tale, Trip, Stumble and Fall, Dancing Bear, Words of Love, My Heart Stood Still, Dancing in the Street. I strongly disagree with Tastes Like Music. It's a great cover. I Saw Her Again. Side 2 is like side 1 is like the more uplifting songs. Side 2 is like a more dark spirited side because Mama Michelle had an affair with Gene Clark and another band member, Papa Denny. So after finding out about Gene Clark, she got fired from the band. Of course, I can't go without mentioning each of the members: Papa Denny, Papa John, great guys, got harmonies, and then you got Mama Cass and Mama Michelle. Just 4 people making the best harmonies in the male and female, and with a great combination. But side 2 is like this great darker side. Like I Saw Her Again, Strange Young Girls, which is about drugs. I Can't Wait. It's basically John and Mama Cass like, I can't wait to say goodbye. I can't wait to say it's basically like them being like, yeah, I can't wait to have you out the door. It's like, screw you kind of thing. Even If I Could, me and Brian both really like that song. That Kind of Girl, their hardest rocking song they've ever made. It's epic. Once Was a Time, pretty cool song then off the album. So these first 2 albums to me is why I have the Mamas and Papas so high on the list. But after the first 2 albums, they don't really quite get up to that level. Kind of like how Jason is with the Byrds, where they had their first 2 albums, and then that's how I feel the Mamas and Papas. The Mamas and Papas really hit their peak in their first 2 albums. Deliver, it's a good album. There's some really good songs. I like Dedicated to the One I Love, Creek Alley, Free Advice, Look Through My Window, String Man. Some good songs on there, but there are a lot more cover songs on this album, and there is a track called John's Music Box, which does affect the album negatively. Their last '60s album is quite good. The Mamas and the Papa, not Mamas, the Papas and the Mamas. Some good songs. 12:30, Dream a Little Dream of Me, For the Love of Ivy. Still good songs. Then they had one '70s album called People Like Us. That album is not good, or a very weak album. It's not bad, but in Mamas and Papas standards, it might as well be bad. But yeah, that's my number 7 though. Mamas and the Papas.
Wow, we all mentioned different people so far. We've covered 12 different.
Well, before you do yours,
Yeah.
8 Townsend 505, you want to crossover review someday? I have a movie you might be interested in. 1981 movie called American Pop.
American Pop.
I said I'm down for that. I'm not sure if he has Messenger. I don't know if that means LinkedIn or if he wants me to send the link to the.
Sure.
Not sure. What's your number 6, Jason?
All right. This artist is the only artist that I know that has 2 state songs, with Rocky Mountain High and now I'm forgetting the other one, Country Roads. Take Me Home, Country Roads. Yeah, for West Virginia state song, Colorado state song, and that is John Denver. Yeah, one of the greatest singer-songwriters of all time. One of my favorite. I grew up with him as a kid. My parents. I mean, I have to thank him for having my parents get together. My parents got together because they both loved John Denver, and they both, when they met and they started talking about John Denver, that really lit a spark between my parents, and they started dating. And then, like less than a year after they met, they got married. Their whole from meeting to getting married happened pretty fast. And when they got married, they played John Denver music at their wedding. My mom went down the aisle to Annie's song or something like that, or it was played somewhere, I think, during that period. Anyway, so to say it was a big artist in my family is underselling it. He was huge for me growing up. When I remember being in the car, we would listen to John Denver music, as we're traveling. And John Denver music, maybe the best music to travel to. He's got a lot of great songs for that, Obviously, it's kind of considered country folk. I would consider him folk. A lot of people consider him country. He's kind of a mixture. Of course, he's mostly acoustic guitar, and writes his songs. And he writes about, what I love about him, he's unique that he writes about nature. And he writes about, I feel like he writes for someone who's from Kansas, from the Midwest, who's from a small town. It feels like he writes songs for me, for people in my area. He writes for the Midwest. I feel like he writes, songs for small town America, in my opinion, with a lot of his music. And yeah, he's just written some of the great, and his voice, he has one of the greatest singing voices of all time, I think. Just so soothing, and and as Nick showed there, I mean, 3 of my favorite albums: Poems, Prayers, and Promises, Rocky Mountain High, and what's the other one? Back Home Again. 3 of the greatest albums. All just absolutely fantastic albums, and like I said, such a good songwriter. Like Poems, Prayers, and Promises, I think is one of the best written songs. Annie's song is like one of the greatest love songs of all time. I mean, come on, how many people have that in their wedding in the 70s? Like everybody had that song in their wedding. But yeah, Take Me Home, Country Roads, maybe the most played song of all time.
My second favorite song of all time.
Yeah, you can't go anywhere without hearing that song. I was watching a sporting event that was taking place in Europe, in like Germany or something like that. It was the FIBA basketball tournament, and they said that they went to the bar and they heard "Take Me Home, Country Roads" like in Germany, like that song's big over there. I was like, wow, that song really traveled everywhere. Interestingly, but yeah, just love, like I said, and like you say, Matthew, Wish I Can Be in Colorado. Even like his first big hit was Leaving on a Jet Plane.
Well, that's all.
Yeah, that was covered by the Mamas and Papas. Really great. This old guitar taught me to teach a love song. Great, lovely song. But again, he has so many great hits, and I think he's underrated. I don't think people realize that he was one of the best-selling artists of the 1970s, and he was everywhere. He hosted the Tonight Show when Johnny Carson wasn't there. He did a lot of hosting. He acted a lot too. He was in some movies in the 70s. I mean, he was everywhere. He also kind of made I think he said "far out," and he made that kind of a big catchphrase. He'd always say "far out" or something like that, and that kind of became part of the lexicon. I don't know if he's the first one to do it, but he did it quite a bit, I think. But yeah. If you know me, I'm just a huge John Denver fan. So he's here at number 6.
My number 6 is probably the band that has the best musical talent of any band, but there's just other bands I like better. There's a lot more to artists than music technicality. However, these guys, I will say, have created some of the greatest music of all time. And I'm probably the only person who has this artist on the list.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be Yes.
Oh, yes.
Got into them with Close to the Edge last year. Listened to most of their other albums this year, and they are amazing. John Anderson is one of the great frontmen, great voice. He got amazing musicians backing him up, especially Chris Squire on the bass. Rick Wakeman on the keyboard. And, man, just amazing musicians. Steve Howe on the guitar. Either Alan White or Bill Bruford on the drums. They make long songs. Putting it straight, Yes is not for everybody. But if you have long patience and are into great musicianship, then you're going to love Yes. Or if you're into storytelling, you're going to love Yes. And if you have never listened to Yes, a good place to start would be their album Fragile, because there are some longer songs, but the longest song on the album is like 10 minutes. And you've probably heard Roundabout before, which Roundabout is amazing. I love Roundabout. You'll get to hear all the amazing musicianship from them. But my 2 favorite albums by them are Close to the Edge and Relayer. Those 2 are really what put them above everyone else. Starting off both with a 20-minute song on one side and then 2 10-minute songs on the other side. All 6 of the songs on those albums are just fantastic. Close to the Edge is just mind-blowing. I remember listening to the title song once, but it was on my way to work at like 7 in the morning, so I don't remember any of it. I just remember just thinking it was good. And then I was at a record store, and I had a whole big, huge stack of records in my hand, and I can only pick 2 out of these. And the ones I was looking at were 2 that I thought, I just know these are masterpieces without even really listening to them, just because I just know. I don't know how I knew, because they didn't turn out to be masterpieces. And they were Tales of Mystery and Imagination, Edgar Allan Poe by the Alan Parsons Project, and Close to the Edge by Yes. And I remember holding Close to the Edge and thinking, I just remember this first song is good. I put it on the turntable because they had a listening station, and as soon as that kicked in, I thought, I have to buy this. I listened to the album the next day. Oh boy, my mind was blown. It was insane. The title track, if you've never listened to the title track to Close to the Edge, if you have the patience to sit through a 20-minute song, like, don't expect it to be like a radio song. Like, think of it more like if you're going to watch a movie. You're going to sit down and listen to this album and think of it like a movie. And you're going to go on a great journey to a land that's close to the edge and round by the corner. Great keyboard playing by Rick Wakeman on this. Great guitar playing by Steve Howe on this. Great drumming by Bill Bruford on this. The first section is just mind blowing, especially Chris Squire's bass that, and then Rick Wakeman's like, and then they get into the verse section, and like Steve Howe's playing like a sitar or something like. My favorite section is the middle section, though. I get up, I get down. That gets me every time, where it slows down and it's like just them singing, and you can hear little like bloop, drops of water in the background, and then Rick Wakeman comes in with the church organ, and it's like, wow, this is too good. Then when the church organ hits every time, it's like, how is this good? And then like the church organ is playing with the Moog synthesizer at the same time, taking the best of the old and the new, and then Bill Bruford comes in real big with it. And then it fades out with the sounds of birds chirping. And You and I is absolutely fantastic. Siberian Khatru, that song is epic. The Gates of Delirium. Oh my goodness, what more is there to say about that than other people have said it in their reaction videos? But for me, I didn't think they could top Close to the Edge. I thought there's no way they can do a better song than this. When I first sat down to listen to The Gates of Delirium, I was very skeptical, and by the time I was done, I just thought, I've probably heard the most epic piece of music I've ever heard in my life. The song pretty much paints a picture of contemplating battle, puts a full-fledged battle in front of your eyes, or should I say your ears, shows you the terrible aftermath of that battle, and then gives you hope for the future at the end. I'm not going to say anything more about The Gates of Delirium. If you never heard The Gates of Delirium and you're good with listening to a 20-minute song, listen to that, because it will change your life. And then the B-side, Sound Chaser. Oh my goodness, Sound Chaser is one of the greatest things I've ever heard as well. That song is amazing, and the guitar solo is one of my favorite guitar solos ever. It's Too Good to Be Real. To Be Over, that's a really great song. Of course, they have some other good albums in their discography. I will say Tales from Topographic Oceans is a bit extravagant. Who wants to sit and listen to a double album of 4 20-minute songs, one on each side of a record? Like, that's too much even for me.
Even for you.
But I do like stuff like Going for the One is really good. I like 90125 and Big Generator. But yeah, yes.
I'm glad one of us had yes on there. I think they're really good, but they're not quite top tier artists for me yet. My next artist, number 6, is going to be the Great Genesis. They're awesome. One of us had Genesis in our list. I'm just go down the timeline. For Genesis, The Revelation, really underrated album. It's like a mixture between psychedelic music and Christian music. It's a pretty cool album. I find it to be very interesting. Very underrated. I'm glad you liked it, Jason.
Yeah, that's good.
Trespass, their first masterpiece of an album. Looking for someone. Oh, love that song. White Mountain. I could just imagine being on a white mountain, fighting off a ice monster while the song is playing in the background. It's awesome. Visits of Angels is awesome. I love that song. Stagnation is great. Dusk is really great. And Knife. Great 6 songs. I'm like, when I was going through Genesis, I'm like, how are they going to top this album? Well, Nursery Crime, I like a lot. I don't think it's as good as Trespass, but I really like it. Musical Box is epic. For Absent Friends is really good. The Return of the Giant Hogweed is epic. 7 Stones is great. Harold the Barrel, funny British humor. Harlequin is really cool. And The Fountains of Salamassus is amazing. I'll give a freebie. Genesis is in my top 10. Nice.
Okay. I have a feeling of another band, but we'll.
Selling England by the Pound. Great album. Dancing with the Moonlight Mile. I Know What I Like. First Off a Fifth is really cool. More Fool Me. First song with Phil Collins as lead singer. Ballad of Epping Forest is really cool. After the Ordeal is good. The Cinema Show is really great. I Look Plenty is amazing. Lamb Lies Down Broadway is a masterpiece of a double album. I mean, come on. It's like Carpet Crawlers is the best Genesis song that was ever made.
Yeah.
Love that song. Carpet Crawlers. It's so cool. I could be listening to a lot of songs, but this album is so cool. Great choices here. Love all the albums mentioned. I purposely left out one album from the Peter Gabriel album I didn't mention yet. That is the Epic Foxtrot. I didn't think much of it when I first heard the album, but Watch of the Skies, epic opener. Love such a masterpiece of an album opener. Timetable is epic. Get 'Em Out by Friday, another humor song. I love that song. Ken Utility and the Coastliners is great. Horizons is a great instrumental, and Supper's Ready. Like, come on, Supper's Ready. It's like it takes you through a journey. It's amazing. I love Supper's Ready. It's a masterpiece. That's why I go through the Peter Gabriel stuff. The reason why they're so high is because of that stuff. It was great, and also David Bowie.
Yeah,
That was a great artist. After Lamb Lies Down Broadway, particular person was like, yeah, Peter Gabriel was like, yeah, I'm kind of done with Genesis. And left the band. Phil Collins takes in the role. Tree of the Tail is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Two sort of transitional albums. Wind and Wuthering, and then there were 3 were okay albums. They're good, but not quite on par. But like the 80s though, Duke, epic album. Even though people call this period a sellout period for them, it's hard for me to agree with them with them, like with the intricacies going on with Duke. It's an epic album. People like to think pop equals evilness. This album is awesome. Abacab is one of their most underrated albums. Self-titled, I don't really care for. It's my second least favorite album from them. Visible Touch, their most underrated album. It's amazing. We Can't Dance, again, sort of. It's a good album. It's probably one of my least favorites. Calling All Stations is just bad. I don't like that album at all.
Yeah.
No, that's the one thing every Genesis fan can agree on is you don't hate Calling All Stations.
Yeah, that album's garbage. Trademark. This album's awful. But yeah, I will say some of the weaker albums is why they didn't make my top 5. But yeah, that's number 6, Genesis.
All right. 15 picks, 15 different artists. It's kind of cool how we're picking different people.
That is cool because
I've got some ones people have said already
coming up.
Yep.
But still, we're getting a pretty good variety. If anybody's listening to this, I hope they're kind of appreciating the variety we're putting out.
Oh yeah, like
we're not putting out
said the same artist yet.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. So it's getting to the point where I'm just no fun anymore. But that's enough about me.
Jason's theme song.
My number 5 pick is Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young.
Question mark.
It's like they're 2 different bands.
Consider them to be one artist.
But Ken was one artist. Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young. I'm probably the biggest fan of this group. It's my favorite super group of all time. I'm just so fascinated. I've always been really fascinated with this group because the fact that you got David Crosby from the Byrds, which is a Hall of Fame band. You got Nash from the Hollies, a Hall of Fame band. You got Stephen Stills, Neil Young from Buffalo Springfield, Hall of Fame band. I mean, how do you get Hall of Fame people from Hall of Fame bands, put them together, and make another Hall of Fame band? I mean, it's just fascinating how they all got together. The whole story of that is, to me, is one of the great stories of rock and roll, I guess. And they got together because they found out, hey, we sound pretty good when we sing together. And boy, do they. When you talk about harmonies, I would say this is probably the best harmonies of all time, you know. And I say that about a lot of bands, so take that as you will. I mean, like I said about the Eagles, you know, you throw that out for, I think, Beach Boys. You throw that out for, I know, the Hollies, let's say. And I even throw that out for the Beatles, you know. But they have to be on that list of great harmonies of all time, with especially, all four of them. I mean, just absolutely amazing. And also the musicianship is obviously pretty darn good. Stephen Stills and Neil Young in your same band. I mean, you got two absolutely just top tier guitar players in there playing, and also songwriters. I mean, you got four guys that can write songs, and that's what's so fun about their albums is each one gets the chance to shine on the album and all work together so well. And if you go to their first album, Crosby, Stills, Nash, one of my favorite albums of all time. One of my favorite songs of all time, Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, absolute masterpiece of harmonies and also songwriting and how they change tempo and keys and all that throughout. And it's almost like three different songs put together. It's just mind-blowingly good. And then also Helplessly Hoping is the best harmonies I've ever heard in a song in my life. It's just pure gold harmonies. Amongst other great stuff like Wooden Ship and Marrakesh Express. And then you get Neil Young, that's 1969. 1970, you got Neil Young there, and he put out another absolute masterpiece with Deja Vu. I mean, two of my favorite albums of all time right now. That's why they have to be number 5 on my list. I mean, to put those two albums out, I mean, that's absolutely huge. Like I said, Deja Vu with Deja Vu, Teach Your Children, Our House, Carry On, Helpless. It's just another absolute, just one hit after another. I mean, both those albums are like greatest hits albums. Woodstock, you know, I mean, you get on the list, they're just greatest hits albums. After that, their albums aren't nearly as that good, but still they put out some good stuff. Like CSN, I think, is still a really good album, and Daylight Again, I think, is actually still a really good album. So they put out 2 other albums later on. Maybe that's all the really great albums, unfortunately. As we only get, like, I think 2 Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young albums, and the rest are Crosby, Stills, Nash albums. But those 4 albums are good enough for me to go put them here at number 5. And just like I said, their greatest hits are just some of the greatest hits of all time, in my opinion. I just absolutely love their sound.
I'm so glad Crosby, Stills, and Nash is on your list. They need representation.
Yeah.
My number 5 is Led Zeppelin.
The Zeppelin.
So, yeah, Jason pretty much hit the nail on the head with, if you think about rock music, these guys are the textbook definition. Great musicianship with John Bonham on the drums, Jimmy Page on the guitar, and the most underrated band member of all time, John Paul Jones, on everything else. But they just have a knack for creating these hooks with these guitar riffs that just make you want to rock out. Explosive right away from their debut in 1969 with stuff like Communication Breakdown and Good Times, Bad Times, and their successful second album with a Whole Lot of Love and Ramble On. And Thank You is really underrated. That's a great song from their second album. And then they did a complete 180 with their third album that's more acoustic driven. You got like Gallows Pole, That's the Way, Runner Our Stomp. But then you also got some good rockers on there, like Since I've Been Loving You, The Immigrant Song, and Out on the Tiles. Their fourth album is amazing. You got Stairway to Heaven, Black Dog, When the Levee Breaks, Going to California, Misty Mountain Hop. That one's really underrated. Four Sticks is kind of weird, but I'm really growing to like that song more now. Houses of the Holy is my favorite album by them. Just all these weird, different mixtures of genres that shouldn't work nearly as well as it does, but it does. Especially the Crunge, which is a great song. I don't know why people hate it. It's hilarious. Where's that confounded bridge? Over the Hills and Far Away. The Rain Song. Oh my goodness, I love that song. I love John Paul Jones' Mellotron. No Quarter is epic. The Ocean is epic. Epic double album with Physical Graffiti. Cashmere. In My Time of Dying is epic. The Rover is amazing. Trampled Underfoot is funky. 10 Years Gone is a masterpiece. That song is amazing.
That's a good song.
Presence is not a very good album in my opinion, but I will say Achilles' Last Stand is an epic song that really deserved a better album than it was put on. And In Through the Outdoor is very underrated. A lot of people say it's their worst album, but I disagree heavily. I think it's one of their best albums. And Carousel Ombre is an absolute masterpiece. So is Fool in the Rain and also All of My Love. That song is amazing as well. And a lot of people tend to hate on Coda. I know it was just a bunch of outtakes, but like the outtakes that these guys make are better than some songs that people put on their actual albums. I love all the songs on Coda. Like, it's got the good version of I Can't Quit You, Baby. We're Gonna Groove is amazing. Poor Tom is amazing. Ozone Baby is amazing. Darlene is amazing. Wearing and Tearing is amazing. Like, just so many good songs that never got put on any albums. Oh, and Hey, Hey, What Can I Do? Very underrated song that unfortunately was not the closer to number 3. If you want to hear any more of my thoughts on Led Zeppelin, check out the playlist over on SoundLab Studios, where you can hear all of our thoughts on Led Zeppelin, on all of Led Zeppelin's albums. I don't know.
Yep. All 6 of us.
You're like, at the moment we don't have all of their albums up, but perhaps you're watching 10 Years Gone, and we have all of our videos up now, and you can watch all of our thoughts on all of the albums.
Yeah. My number 5, we go with the Hollies. To me, they're, in my opinion, the greatest harmonies ever. Graham Nash, Tony Hicks, Alan Clark. I don't know. It just, to me, 60s, 70s, they just have, in combined, they just, to me, the greatest harmonies band. To me, when they do harmonies, it's magic. Their first album's okay. Has a song or two I really enjoy. I like Rockin' Robin. It's Only Make Believe, good songs. Stay's a really good song too. But their second album, that's when Tony Hicks starts to harmonize with them. That's when they start to get their sound. Nitty Gritty, Do You Know, Don't You Know, To You My Love, great Graham Nash sung song. 7 out of the 12 songs on this album are written by the Hollies. Inner Kiss, great cover. Even the covers are amazing, like Too Much Monkey Business, It's Inner Kiss, Nitty Gritty, Something's Got a Hold on Me, Not Set Me Free. I Thought of You Last Night, just awesome covers. But the originals are also great too, like To You My Love, like I mentioned, Time for Love, Please Don't Feel So Bad is really good, Come On Home, You'll Be Mine, Set Me Free. It's just a great second album. Just great British invasion early work. Self-titled album is great. Mickey's Monkey, great cover. I love Too Many People, The Very Last Day. I know me and Jason really like that song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Lottie Miss Claudie, awesome cover. But the originals are just as great as ever. So Lonely, very Byrds-esque. They were a big fan of the Byrds at the time. I've Been Wrong, When I Come Home to You. Like I mentioned, Too Many People. Put Yourself in My Place. Just great songs. Like they're writing, and the harmonies are just getting better. Like the harmonies are just getting better and better. What Do You Believe? just a great album. Not as good as the previous two albums, but this is still a really good album. Hard Year, Oriental Sadness, Fifi the Flea. I've got to wave my own. Great four originals. Sadly, those are the only originals, but still great songs. But some really great covers on here. I Take What I Want. I love the part in the middle when all the interest cut. It's just like them singing, just showing off how great they sing. I love going back to Hard Year. Great electric guitar solo in the middle by Tony Hicks. When you think great guitar players, you don't think Tony Hicks. I think Tony Hicks deserves a lot more credit where credit's due. I'm not gonna say he's the next Alex Lifeson or anything, but he deserves credit. Their version of I Am a Rock. I mean, my second favorite version of that song. The harmonies just really take it to the next level. And that's coming from me saying from the cover from Simon and Garfunkel, which their harmonies are great too. So if you're gonna beat Simon and Garfunkel, that just proves how great they are. Again, Fifi the Flea is just a masterpiece. I love that song. It's like Graham Nash's Yesterday. I Can't Let Go, the big hit on the song. I love that. I love that song. It closes out the album really well. Around this time, they do a version of If I Needed Someone. They released it the same day as Rubber Soul. Very slightly, I prefer the Hollies version, probably because of the harmonies, but I love both versions. Of course, I can't not talk about the singles that they were releasing around this time.
Singles.
Like Bus Stop.
Yeah.
Look Through Any Window, I'm Alive. Like, these songs are not put on the albums, and I'm like, it hurts them a little. It hurts them, and I'm like, oh man, like the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Hollies, they make these great singles, but they don't put it on the albums. And I'm like, come on. Thankfully, they learned their lesson with Would You Believe. They put I Can't Let Go on there, which song's great. For certain, because me and Jordan review that album. Love that album a lot. The whole album is all written Graham Nash and Graham Clark Hicks tracks, or Ransford. That's what they were called because it's 3 songwriters. It's crazy. What's Wrong with the Way I Live? Pay You Back with Interest. I definitely hear the Pet Sounds influence because this was around the time Pet Sounds was released, and we all know in Great Britain the Pet Sounds was huge in Britain, so the Hollies definitely had a copy of it. Tell Me to My Face, me and my dad's favorite song on this album, my dad's favorite song in general from them. Clown, great song. Suspicious Look in Your Eyes. Again, those harmonies, like, come on, like the harmonies are just so tight.
Yeah,
It's
great.
You, High Class, Peculiar Situation. Again, the harmonies, like, oh man, it just to me, you can't beat them with the harmonies. What Went Wrong, Crusader, Don't Ever Think About Changing is pretty good. And then they put the big hit at the end, Stop, Stop, Stop. But with an album as great as this, it's not even my favorite song on the album. And it's funny, too. It's not even Jason's favorite song on the album either.
No.
That's just how great this album is for me. Next album they released was Evolution, which was kind of the hint as to what one of my artists was. I have the Evolution album in the background. It's just like them taking the next step thanks to really Graham Nash. Then The Heartaches Begin, great electric guitar opener. Again, proving how great Tony Hicks is as a guitarist. Stop Right There, really cool song. Water on the Brain, nice psychedelic song. Lullaby to Tim, even though it does have a weird vocal effect, I really do enjoy it. It's a nice, beautiful song. Have You Ever Loved Somebody? One of the heaviest songs I've ever heard from a pop artist from the 60s. It's great. You Need Love, I love that song. I know that was Jason's favorite from this album. Rain on the Window. I love Rain on the Window. Heading for a Fall is amazing. Top Shop is Baroque pop masterpiece. As Brian is with ballads, I am a sucker for Baroque pop songs.
Yeah, you are a sucker for Baroque.
When Your Lights Turned On is a great power pop song. Leave Me is a cool song. The Games We Play, really awesome opener, closer. I mean, it's just another great album. Graham Nash is like making the Hollies go in the next direction. Again, I'll bring up the singles that came out around this time: On a Carousel, Carrie Ann, Jennifer Eccles. Like, these songs are awesome.
King Midas in Reverse.
Well, that's around the Butterfly album, but yeah, King Midas in Reverse, and B-sides to these songs are also just as great. Open Up Your Eyes, Everything Is Sunshine, Signs That'll Never Change, All the World Is Love. Just great songs. That's why they're so high on my list. They just knew how to make a great pop song in the 60s. Last album with Graham Nash was in the band was Butterfly. Of course, Dear Eloise is a great song. Way, 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 I love. Maker's a cool little Indian-inspired song. Pegasus was one of two songs that Tony Hicks writes and sings on. Would You Believe? Really cool song. Wish You a Wish was a sort of like Graham Nash doing like a granny song almost. It's interesting. Postcard I love. Charlie and Fred I love. Try It is crazy. Evaluate Observations is a cool song. Step Inside is great. And Butterfly is like, it's a haunting way of Graham Nash leaving the Hollies. It's like Graham Nash is like, it's just Graham Nash in an orchestra. It's very haunting the way it closes out. And sadly, that's the last Hollies album you get with Graham Nash on it. Well, last album for a while.
Yeah.
To me, this is their peak for me, these three albums, for certain, because Evolution and Butterfly. To me, they don't quite get up to that level after that. The harmonies aren't as tight. I like the Holly Sing Dylan album. That's a great album. I find it to be really underrated. Holly Sing Hollies is a great album. It's probably in my top 5. Confessions of the Mind, I really enjoy. Around this time, they released Sorry Suzanne and He Ain't Heavy Is My Brother. Great songs.
Great song.
Some of the songs on these albums I mentioned, though, Why Didn't You Believe in Him? Basically a song about Jesus Christ. I quite like that song. Marigold Gloria Swan song is brilliant. Love that song. Man Without a Heart is great. Confessions of a Mind. I love that song. Frightened Lady is great. Then they released 1971's Distant Light, which has their biggest song on it, which is a Lone Cool Woman in a Black Dress. Everyone knows that song. Great song. But the other songs on the album are just as great. What a Life I've Led. Look what we got. Hold on. Hold down the blind.
That song sounds nothing like the rest of the Hollies. That's what's so weird about that Long Cool Woman in the Black Dress.
I agree.
But the guitar like riff thing at the beginning, you're like, what is this? This is Hollies?
It's not CCR, if anything. To Do With Love is great. You know the score. Cable Car, Little Thing Like Love. A Long Dark Road is great. I find that to be a really underrated album. They've released a couple of albums after that. Alan Clark left the band. They're good albums, but I don't think the band was as good when Alan Clark was leading them. There are a couple of songs I really enjoy from that era. I really like Magic Woman Touch. I like Lizzie and the Rain Man. Their version of I'm trying to think, Witchy Woman. They do a version of that song. I think it's pretty good. Then they made a revival album with The Air That I Breathe is on it, called just Hollies. So they have another self-titled album. So like 9 years after 65's self-titled, you get another self-titled album. The Day That Curly Billy Shot Sam Down. Another sort of Lone Cool Woman in a Black Dress kind of song. Another really good album. Another Night. To me, it's their most underrated album. Around this time, they really were a big fan of Steely Dan, so they made this album as like sort of like their inspiration of Steely Dan. Another Night. I really like this album. Another Night, Sandy, Lonely Hobo Lullaby, I'm Down. Just great album, great songs. Uh, Last one I'll mention here is an album that the last Graham Nash album with them was in the 80s. 1983 is What Goes Around. Graham Nash joins the band one more time. They do a song called Stop in the Name of Love. Pretty good song. I really like that song. But yeah, that's my number 5. Again, why they're so high is because to me, they have like the greatest harmonies and some of the best songs that's ever made. To me, it's hard not to have the Hollies in my top 10. To me, they're one of the best bands ever, in my opinion.
I just saw that Alan Parsons was the engineer on Romany.
Oh, really?
Huh.
That explains why Alan Clark and Terry Sylvester sing on some of the songs. The
Yeah.
Alan Parsons project.
Yeah.
That does explain it.
Yeah, that explains it.
But now that I've done bantering about the Hollies, Jason, what is your number 4?
Well, hello, darkness, my old friend. I come to speak to you again, and I'm speaking to you about the greatest duo of all time, Simon and Garfunkel. Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel from New York, 2 childhood pals, got together and started off with an album that didn't do particularly as well, Wednesday Morning, 3 a.m., but they did have one of the biggest hit songs of the 60s eventually, called The Sound of Silence, which is my favorite Simon Garfunkel song. Just brilliant songwriting from Paul Simon, one of the greatest songwriters of all time. He had, of course, great career with Simon Garfunkel, then had just an amazing career afterwards. That's how great he was. And they only made, was it 5 albums together? Am I remembering that right? Or so they didn't make that many albums together, but what they did make was just fantastic. I love every single album. All 5 albums are really good albums, which to me is the most consistent group of all time, I think. Maybe besides another band I really like that's coming up. But to put out, even though they didn't put out a lot of albums, but to hit really good with each album is pretty incredible, I think. But yeah, after Sound of Silence became like a #1 hit, they came back with their own Sound of Silence album, and they just went off running after that. Parsley, Sage, Rosemary, Thyme is one of my favorite albums of all time from them. Obviously, Bookends is very big. It's actually my least favorite, but it has some of the best stuff. Like Mrs. Robinson is one of the biggest hits of all time. They got to write music for the movie Graduate, which had some of those songs in it. Also, America is another great one of my favorites. But yeah, and I didn't talk about Homeward Bound is an amazing song off of Parsley Sage. And they have so many hits and only 5 albums. They still have so many amazing hits in that little bit of time. And some of the best harmonies of all time. Like I said, best duo. They just work so well together, their voices. Paul Simon's, middle voice, and then you got Art Garfunkel's high tenor voice. I love that. When you have a guy that can sing that high tenor and someone sings kind of the middle, man, they mesh together. And I should, of course, mention their 5th album. They're my favorite album of theirs and one of my favorite albums of all time, Bridge Over Troubled Waters. I mean, that's why they have to be up here this high for me, is because that's just a masterpiece album that we've covered before. Me and Nick, and even me and Nick and Scott and Briar, I think I've covered.
We did a whole series on them.
We did a whole series on them. We did a countdown, everything. Bridge Over Troubled Waters, I think, is one of the greatest vocal works of their period.
It's the greatest song of all time, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it won Best Song in 1970 for a good reason. Art Garfunkel. It's probably the most beautiful song. I mean, it's a really beautiful piano piece, and Art Garfunkel, his vocals are just absolutely amazing. That's what makes that song pretty incredible. But then The Boxer is another favorite of mine. Celia is such a fun song. Those are some of the big hits off of there. And then you got some great deep cuts like Keep the Customer Satisfied and The Only Living Boy in New York. So much. It's, like I said, great hits, great deep cuts. Makes it just an absolutely fantastic album. yeah, like you say, some of the greatest folk rock songs of the '60s into 1970 period. Yeah, so many hits. I mean, another one where they just put out so many incredible hits. Some of my favorite songs of all time. And like I said, I just love the overall sound of the two together. Just is amazing. So yeah, Simon Garfunkel there, number 4.
Okay, now it's time for what's my number 4. Should I say who's my number 4?
Who?
That's what I want to know. Who?
What do I know?
I want to know who are you? Okay, no, we're done with that bit. The Who, number 4.
Awesome.
I discovered Who's Next through the song Baba O'Reilly and thought, wow, this is one of the coolest songs I've ever heard. The album was like, whoa, this is one of the best albums I've ever heard. So I checked out their full discography. Not their full discography, but everything up to Who Are You? And very few duds. Again, the amazing musicianship. You've got Keith Moon on the drums, Pete Townsend on the guitar, and John Entwistle on the bass. It's absolutely amazing. And then Roger Daltrey singing. And Jason talked a lot about their accomplishments already. You got the rock opera Tommy, which is amazing. I already spoke about Who's Next. You got the Who's Still Out, which is this funny like mock radio kind of thing. They have another concept album, Quadrophenia, which is good. They've got Who Are You, which is a great late 70s rock album. Yeah, it's just like absolutely amazing at number 4.
Yeah.
Nice. We're at the Roll Stoney for this next one. The Rolling Stones. Yeah. The Rolling Stones at number 4. So didn't quite make my top 3. Watch me and Jason's ranking video and you'll find out why.
Yeah.
Of course, debut album. In the UK, it's just called the Rolling Stones, but in the US, it's called England's Newest Hitmakers.
England's Newest Cover Band.
Or as we would all call it, England's Newest Cover Band.
I think Jacob was the one who coined that term.
Rolling Stones number 2, even though it's one of the most unimaginary names, it's a good stepping stone album for them. More originals. UK Out of Our Heads is a big step down from the US Out of Our Heads, but I think the UK one still is a little improvement in terms of songwriting. Then you get their best album, which is Aftermath. They really stepped up their writing game. I already said this.
Math. They should have made an album called Math.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I just thought of that. That was a missed opportunity. Anyways, sorry.
Like
That's funny.
Aftermath.
That's funny. Would have been called that Math, and it'd be like Aftermath.
Aftermath. Oh man, why did they do that?
That's funny. I already said this in the ranking video. This is like their 66 to 68 periods, like their best period for me. Aftermath being their best album. Songs like Mother's Little Helper, Stupid Girl, Lady Jane, Under My Thumb, Don't You Bother Me, Going Home, Flight 505, High and Dry, Out of Time, It's Not Easy, I'm Waiting, Take It or Leave It, Think, and What to Do. All 14 songs, to me, are all amazing songs after one amazing songs. It's one of those songs where, like, a lot of those songs, to me, it's like a sing-along album for me, for the most part. A great album. Between the Buttons, they're going more into the more. They go even deeper in the pop direction. The early '60s, they were more of a blues rock band, but then like in the mid '60s, they were a little pop. They went a little pop direction. Yesterday's Papers is amazing. My Obsession, Brian Wilson's favorite Rolling Stones song. Brian Wilson's. For a good reason. This is a great song. Backstreet Girl, which I love so much. The fact that they would take this song off the album always annoyed me. The song is amazing. Connection, Keith Richards' favorite. Deep Cut. She Smiled Sweetly. Sounds like it could have been on Blonde on Blonde. Cool, Calm, and Collected. anything but that. It's rambunctious and very British humory. Reminds me of the Kinks. All Sold Out is great. Please Go Home, another amazing deep cut that they took off of the US version, which to me is a crime. Who's Been Sleeping Here, another song that could have been on Blonde. Complicated, which is amazing. Miss Amanda Jones is a great straight up rock and roll song. Something Happened to Me Yesterday is a really kinky song. Sounds like something the Kinks would make. Love it so much. Yeah, my biggest problem with the US version of this album is that they take out one of my favorite songs and another song I really like, and they place in two songs that to me don't belong on the album, which is Let's Spend the Night Together and Ruby Tuesday. Those are good songs. I really like Let's Spend the Night Together, but to me, the UK version was perfect as is. Of course, Their Satanic Majesty's Request is a very divisive album. I'm one of the it's either you really like it or really hate it. I'm one of the people who really likes it. Really like Sing This All Together. Citadel is great. And Another Land is a cool Baroque pop song, which I'm a sucker for those. 2000 Man is amazing. Sing This All Together, See What Happens is crazy. Basically sums up what was going on in their year, what basically was going on that year. Just a lot of crazy drug busts. 67 was a crazy year for the Stones, and the song basically sums it up all well. She's a Rainbow, iconic song. John Paul Jones did the arrangements on it. He was in a certain band afterwards. The Lantern, cool song. I like the Gomper. I like 2,000 Light Years from Home. All with the Show's a cool song. Then you get to Beggar's Banquet, which that album's amazing. Sympathy for the Devil, Street Fighting Man. Those are great hits, but I feel like what really stands the album out is the deep cuts. No Expectations, Parachute Woman, Jigsaw Puzzle, Prodigal Son, Factory Girl, Song of the Earth, just amazing songs. Stray Cat Blues. Let It Bleed. Give Me Shelter and You Can't Always Get What You Want are the bookends. I mean, that should be all that should be said about it, but
Yeah.
Love Pain is amazing. Country Honk is really good. I do prefer Honky Tonk Woman, but I think Country Honk works better on this album. Live With Me is a great rocker. Let It Bleed is a great title track. Midnight Rambler. Oh, man, Midnight Rambler is epic. You Got the Silver is amazing. Monkey Man. Oh, love that song. Just 9 perfect songs to me. Pinky Fingers, you got 9 out of 10 songs being great. Brown Sugar, Sway, Wild Horses, Can You Hear Me Knocking, Bitch, Sister Morphine, Dead Flowers, Moonlight Mile, great songs. You Got the Blue, not You Got the Blues. You Gotta Move is kind of why it's not one of my favorites. If you saw my ranking of it, Exile on Main Street. I'm not gonna say every song on it, but all the songs are great. I'll just say the big highlights: Tumbling Dice, Sweet Virginia, Torn and Afraid, Loving Cup, Sweet Black Angel, Happy, Ventilator Blues, Just Want to See His Face, Shine a Light, Soul Survival, just great songs. That's basically that's their big 4.
Yeah.
I really like Goat's Head Soup. Me and Jason both really like that album. We also liked It's Only Rock and Roll, great album. Black and Blue is really good. There are some songs I really don't like from that album, but there's some good, really good songs on that album. Some Girls, awesome album. 3 humongous hits on that album. Miss You, Beast the Burden, Shattered. Those are big hits on that album. Deep cuts are great too. Faraway Eyes, Lies, When the Whip Comes Down, Respectable, great songs. Some Girls with that really crazy lyric in the middle of it. I'm not going to say it now. Emotional Rescue, one of the most underrated albums. Me and Jason both really enjoy it. I'll say the big highlights on it. Summer Romance, Let Me Go, Indian Girl, Where the Boys Go, Emotional Rescue, She's So Cold, great songs. Tattoo You, amazing album. Start Me Up. Like Scott mentioned, it's like a big anthem of the '80s.
Yeah.
Hank Fire's awesome. Little TNA, Black Limousine. Heaven's great. Tops, Worried About You. No Use in Crying, Waiting on a Friend. The other albums range from really good to like really good to mediocre to not the best. I will say even way after Tattoo You, album like Cat Candy Diamonds, they're still rocking to this day. So yeah, I have to put the Rolling Stones at number 4. So Jason, what's your number 3?
All right. Well, so this band answered the long, old question, what makes the rocking world go around? And they answered with Fat Bottom Girls. So we answered that question, and that band is Queen.
You said Queen?
I said
Queen?
Queen?
Did someone say Queen?
Obviously, one of our members is a huge fan of that, and I think we're all big fans of this band, but what can you say? This is one of the greatest rock bands of all time, and I've become obviously I've loved this band since I was a kid. As far as their hit singles, I mean, first time I heard Bohemian Rhapsody on the movie Wayne's World, I was just hooked onto it. What is this song? This is the craziest song I've ever heard in my life. And finding out about that song just like really, blew up and really like opened my eyes to like, who is this Queen, And obviously they had so many they're another band, just man, hit song after hit song on every album. And then after meeting like Breyer and we started getting to Queen, started talking about Queen more. I finally was like, all right, I gotta go through Queen's albums. And then after I went through Queen's album, I was like, man.
Someone say Queen. Right on cue.
Right on cue. It's like time he's done that today. Going through their albums, I just made me fall in love with the band even more because everybody said they don't have good albums, they just have good singles. They're a singles band. They're not an album.
They were.
Man, have you heard Night at the Opera, Day of the Races, News of the World, Jazz? I don't know if I missed anything in there, but even The Works or whatever, and The Game, and what's it called, Night of Magic. What am I saying? Is that it? Whatever.
It's a kind of magic.
It's just one great album after another. I mean, that 4-album run to me is like the greatest album, one of the greatest album runs of all time. Where it's like, wow, you got like a couple 10s, a couple 9.5s for me. I'm just like so in love with these songs. Again, Freddie Mercury, what can you say? Yeah.
They are wrong.
They're wrong, yeah. Freddie Mercury, greatest frontman of all time. I agree with everybody on that.
Great.
Vocally, just absolutely amazing. Like when I listen to his albums, I'm just listening to his voice, and I go, man, he has so much power behind his voice. He hits these huge notes. He can rock it on a really good rock song like Fat Bottom Girls or We Will Rock You. He's just rocking it. And then he hits you with a good ballad like Somebody to Love, Love of My Life. He does a piano ballad and you're like, wow, this ballad's amazing. His vocals are amazing. And hits you with a pop song or like You're My Best Friend, one of my favorite songs of theirs. I mean, just everything. And he does different styles. Whatever you throw at Freddie Mercury, he can do it and do it better than anybody else. And that's not even talking about Brian May, one of my favorite guitar players and some of the best guitar solos I've ever heard. John Deacon on bass and Rod Taylor on drums, I think. Musicianship-wise, amazing. Plus, Freddie Mercury is maybe the best entertainer to watch when it comes to Live Aid. I mean, what can you say? Probably the greatest, concert footage of all time. How Freddie Mercury has the whole crowd in the grasp of his hand, that huge crowd. Everybody just paying attention to everything he says. All of that to say, like I said, some of the greatest rock songs of all time, pop songs, ballads. Obviously, Night at the Opera is considered one of the greatest albums of all time for good reason. I personally love Jazz is my favorite album, but The Day of the Races is amazing. it's hard to say. They're all just so amazing. Those albums. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Probably won't say much more. Someone else maybe will say more about them, but yeah, I'm right there. Just some of the greatest rock music of all time. Queen.
That somebody is me. They're my number 3 as well.
We got it. Number 3.
Yeah. So what was the first song I heard by Queen? I think it was "We Will Rock You" and "We Are the Champions" because I had a Guitar Hero game that had both of those songs on there. It was a Lego Guitar Hero game, which is funny. So you could be little Lego Freddie Mercury. It doesn't matter which characters you chose. If you played "We Will Rock You" and "We Are the Champions," you were Lego Queen. So, but wow. I heard "We Will Rock You" and "We Are the Champions." I loved those songs, and then I figured out about Bohemian Rhapsody, which was a life-changing moment. Get the Queen's Greatest Hits CD and learned about their big songs, but then I just kind of more recently been getting into their albums. The reason why Queen is number 3 is I think they're the only band I can think of that has not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not even 6, a run of 7 albums that are at least 9.5 to 10. Like for me, from Queen 2 all the way up to the I forgot there's Hot Space. To the Game, not the Works. Queen 2 up to the Game are all at least 9.5 out of 10. At 9.5 for me. And it's because of the musicianship, it's because of Freddie Mercury being the greatest frontman ever. It's just they're all epic albums. First album's pretty good. I like Keep Yourself Alive. I like Doing All Right. Liar is epic. Mother and Daughter, or whatever that song is pretty cool. And they give you the little
daughter.
Oh, whichever one it is.
Yeah,
they give you a little taste of the 7 Seas of Rye. Queen 2 is epic. I like Father to Son. That one's really good. I like Someday This Day. The Brian May song is really cool. White Queen is good. But the B-side is really where the cool stuff happens on this second album. March of the Black Queen is one of their best songs. I like Nevermore. That one's really cool. Ogre Battle, epic. Harry Feller's Master Stroke. And Funny How Love Is and the 7 Seas of Rye. Perfect second side. Pure Heart Attack, another amazing album. Got the big hit Killer Queen on it. I like In the Lap of the Gods Revisited. I like the little medley with Flick of the Wrist and Lily of the Valley. And then, of course, Night at the Opera, Bohemian Rhapsody is one of the greatest songs ever. It just blows your mind whenever you hear it. I'm kind of sad that they play it so much on the radio because, it's worn it out for so many people because, when you hear that song, with the first time you hear that song, you're like, this is the excesses that music can be taken to. This is I don't know how you can get much better than this.
Yeah.
Love of My Life is a great song. So is You're My Best Friend. Prophet Song rocks. 39 is amazing. Day at the Races, great follow-up. I Love You, Take My Breath Away. That's a very good song. Like White Man, that's great. Millionaire's Waltz. Good old-fashioned Lover Boy. News of the World, one of the best Queen albums. Probably the album that's got the best deep cuts on it. I mean, it's got We'll Rock You and We Are the Champions, but then it's got Spread Your Wings. It's got It's Late, which is probably my favorite song on that album.
Good. Yeah.
All Dead, All Dead. Just some really good stuff. Sleeping on the Sidewalk. Sheer Heart Attack, the song. Title track got put on the wrong album.
Wrong album.
Jazz is amazing as well. You got Mustafa, which is a really interesting song. Fat Bottom Girls and Bicycle Race. Jealousy is amazing. I love that song. And Only 7 Days is amazing. Man, this one's got some great deep cuts too. Let Me Entertain You. Wow. Man, Jazz might be one of my favorite albums by them too. It's got Don't Stop Me Now, which is a great song. And I actually really like more of that jazz. I think it's a really cool song. And of course, The Game, Play the Game is amazing. Dragon Attack is awesome. Another One Bites the Dust, one of the greatest bass riffs of all time. My favorite song on the album is actually Need Your Loving Tonight. I think it's a really underrated song. It was kind of more of a minor hit rather than some of the more major hits on this album, but it's my favorite on the album. And then you got Crazy Little Thing Called Love, their tribute to Elvis, which is amazing as well. Save Me and Sail Away Sweet Sister are also really good songs from that album. I'm not as big on Hot Space. I will say Under Pressure is a very good song. The Works is an amazing album as well. You got those 3 big songs they did at Live Aid. I Want to Break Free, Radio Gaga, and Hammer to Fall. Hammer to Fall is amazing. And just like everything else they did.
Okay, man, I wish we would have had a trifecta on number 3, but my number 3, I'm gonna say Led Zeppelin.
There's Led Zeppelin.
They let out, so I have them higher than all of you guys. Surprisingly. Yeah. I have them higher than you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
John Paul Jones, one of the greatest musicians. He's just like the secret sauce of the band. One of my favorite members in any band. Robert Plant, one of the best vocalists. Jimmy Page, great guitarist. John Paul Jones, awesome drummer. Explosive debut album, like Scott mentioned before. Good Times, Bad Times is awesome. Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You is amazing. You Shook Me, I like, but it's not as good as the rest of the album. Dazed and Confused is brilliant. Your Time Is Gonna Come, my favorite on the album. It's so good. It's like one of their first like folky songs. The organ in the beginning is just shows in the beginning how great John Paul Jones is. Black Mountain Side is cool. Communication Breakdown is awesome. I Can't Quit You, Babe does take the album down a notch. They're like, I give this album a 9 out of 10. But yeah, it's really good. It's 9 out of 10. But yeah, songs like You Shook Me and especially I Can't Quit You, Babe brings it down to a 9 out of 10.
Yes.
Have you had dinner?
No.
I'm going to go to Whataburger then.
But next album, Led Zeppelin 2. This album is amazing. I love Led Zeppelin 2. This is their first 10 out of 10 album for me. Whole Lot of Love, I agree, is one of the best rock songs. It's so good. What Is and What Should Never Be is great. Lemon Song, it's a funny song. It's like When I Squeeze Your Lemon Out. Pretty funny. Thank You, very underrated song. Heartbreaker, Live and Love and Made, Ramble On. I've been getting more into Ramble On lately. Great song.
Yeah, it's a good song.
Moby Dick, great instrumental, and Bring It On Home, great closer. To me, not a second wasted on this album. Led Zeppelin 3, Immigrant Song, best opening song that they had so far. Friends, great follow-up track. Celebration Day is really cool. Since I've Been Loving You, I love. Out of the Tiles, I love. Really underrated song, Out of the Tiles. Gallows Pole, I love. That's like this and another track is Gallows Pole and another song is one of my favorites. Tangerine is amazing. That's the Way is my favorite on the album. Almost tied with Gallows Pole. Bron-Y-Aur Stomp is great. And I know there's hats off to Roy Crapper, but
Oh boy.
to me it's still
He can take a poop in his hat.
I still give it a 10 out of 10 because the 9 songs more than make up for it.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin 4, I already gave you my thoughts on that album. I will say The Battle of Evermore is great. Misty Mountain Hop I really enjoy, and When the Levee Breaks is awesome. House of the Holy, they bring it back up. Another perfect album for them. 10 out of 10. Song Remains the Same. Rain Song is brilliant. Over the Hills Are Far Away. The Crunch is love that song. Dancing Days, great. Jamaica. I disagree with you, Jacob. I love that song. No Quarter. I disagree with you, Jason. I love this song. So two disagreements on this album for me. I think The Ocean, I think, it's probably my least favorite, but I still really enjoy it. Then you get to this album, which Physical Graffiti,
Oh,
to
yeah.
me, one of the best albums ever made. One of the best double albums ever made. You get 6 songs in the first disc: Custard Pie, The Rover, In My Time of Dying. In My Time of Dying is this epic 11-minute blues track. Craziness going on in this song. Side 2 is for the people who want the hits on it. House of the Holy, pretty big song. Trample Underfoot's pretty good big song. Kashmir closes out the first disc. Epic first disc. You take the second disc and you get In the Light. Oh, my favorite Zeppelin song of all time. That synthesizer part in the beginning of the song will never get old to me. Run Your R, great instrumental after that. Down by the Seaside's really relaxing. 10 Years Gone is great. Side 4, Night Flight is amazing. The Wonton song is great. Boogie with Stu is amazing. I love Black Country Woman. I love that song. Sick Again is actually my favorite album closer from them.
Really?
Yeah. Then there's Presence, which again I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. It's not on par with the last 2 albums, especially the last album. Achilles' Last Stand is brilliant though. For Your Love is great. Royal Orleans I actually like. Nobody's Fault But Mine is amazing too. Side 2, Can You Still Rock? It's pretty good. It's not one of my favorites, but I still like it. Hot Sauce on for Nowhere is my least favorite on the album, but I think it's okay. T for One, even though it's like a lesser version of Since I've Been Loving You, I still really enjoy the song.
Would have been epic if they had made this song off of that opening guitar riff.
Yeah, that would have been cool, but I still get a kick out of Presence. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 though. So you got 3 9 out of 10s, you got 3 10 out of 10s, you got 2 9 out of 10. So that's why they're so high on my list. Just can't lose with Led Zeppelin. In Through the Outdoor, super underrated. We're having trifecta. That album's amazing. In the Evening is haunting. It's great. South Bon Suarez is great. Fool in the Rain, it's a great song. Hot Dog. I'll never get the hate for Hot Dog. That song's fun.
So fun.
Caro Sombra is brilliant. It's like John Paul Jones again. It's like you get 3 songs, No Quarter, Caro Sombra, and In the Light. Just like 3 masterpieces from him. All My Love, even though it's not one of my favorites from Led Zeppelin, it's still really good. I respect it a lot because of what went behind it. Like Robert Plant's son passed away. I respect it a whole lot for that. I'm Gonna Crawl is an okay closer. Probably besides Hats Off to Roy Crapper, I'm gonna say this is my least favorite of all the closing tracks. Going over Coda briefly, I think it's really good. Probably my 3rd least favorite album from them. But I still think it's really good. Love We're Gonna Groove. Port Tom is great. Bonzo's Montreal X is great. So yeah, Led Zeppelin. The only reason why they're not any higher than number 3 is they only have 4 10 out of 10 albums as opposed to my top 2 artists having more than that. So yeah. So Jason, what is your number 2?
All right. Well, number 2 for me is my favorite songwriter, favorite singer, favorite musician of all time. He come up with some great albums like McCartney, Ram, Band on the Run, Venus and Mars, Tug of War, Pipes of Peace, Off the Ground, Flaming Pie, Chaos and Creation in the Backyard, Memory Was Full, New. Gosh, this guy knows how to write great music. This is Paul McCartney, Sir Paul McCartney. He was a member of a band in the '60s. I forget the name, but it was a big band in the '60s.
The Strolling Rome's or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Johnny and the Moondogs or something like that. Yeah.
The Quarrymen, that was it.
The Mosquitoes.
They broke up in 1970. He's like, all right, I'll just see if I can make it as a solo artist. And yes, he can make it as a solo artist. Coming out with his first album in 1970 with McCartney, and comes out with one of the greatest love songs of all time, Maybe I'm Amazed. One of my favorite McCartney songs right off the bat. But yeah, it's still a pretty solid album. Follows that with Ram On, another just absolutely fantastic album the next year. And he has stuff like Too Many People, Uncle Albert, Albert Halsey, which was a big hit for him. And just every year, almost, he was coming out with just one banger after another. He starts his own band, Wings, and does a number of albums. Oh, I didn't mention London Town. Did you say that to me? I totally forgot London Town.
Well, London Town's brilliant.
That's another album I didn't even mention.
Wings at the Speed of Sound as well. Almost every Wings album to me is brilliant.
Yeah. Band on the Run is one of the greatest albums of all time, in my opinion. It's a perfect album, 10 out of 10. Love every song. Band on the Run, absolute masterpiece of a song. Again, the way it goes from soft, a little bit, or soft and slow to a little bit faster to just an absolutely brilliant end to that song. It's so catchy, so wonderful. Jet is an amazing song. 1985. I mean, Bluebird, all down the line. That's just an amazing album, masterpiece for him. And then he doesn't stop there. Like I said, I mean, Venus and Mars. You got Venus and Mars. You got Listen What the Man Said, another absolutely amazing one. I forget what album has Let 'Em In is a great one from that
Wings
period.
at the Speed of Sound. Let 'Em In. It's silly love songs.
Silly love songs. Great love songs.
Beware
Awesome.
My Love.
Yeah, My Love. Yeah, Silly Love Songs. Love that song. Brilliant. It's a great love song while also kind of making fun of people that make fun of him for making love songs. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. Great pop song. One of the greatest. Yeah, I didn't even mention Broad Street with No More Lonely Nights. Absolutely amazing 80s. I think it was an 80s song, if I remember right. Absolutely amazing. But yeah, even Tug of War is so great. With Ebony and Ivory, of course, great, one of his biggest hits with Stevie Wonder. Tug of War, Wanderlust is an absolute, underrated song. Absolutely wonderfully, beautifully written. Pipes of Peace is one of my favorite that nobody talks about, but you have Through Our Love is so great on there, and Tug of Peace. The Other Me, it's just an underrated album. So great. Like I said, just every album. London Town's a great song. With a Little Luck is one of his best pop songs he ever wrote and written. And then I think he's getting too old. He can't do anymore. And then he comes out with Flaming Pie and puts out one of the best albums of all time. One of my favorite 90s albums. Probably my favorite song of the 90s is Calico Skies. That's an absolutely beautiful.
That's my favorite song on that album.
Yes.
I love that song.
Just an absolute beautiful acoustic guitar piece. That's, to me, rivals Blackbird is one of his best songs he's ever written. But yeah, the whole album is just absolutely amazing. Casting Creation is another absolutely amazing album. It's just one. It's like those are almost like perfect albums where it's like every song is just amazing. And so I'm just amazed. It's like, wow, now we're getting the 2000s. Surely he's too old. No, he comes out with Memory Almost Full. Another just absolutely fantastic album. Dance Tonight, End of the End is one of my favorite songs of his from that. Brilliant writing. Again, just an absolutely amazing writer. And so prolific. I mean, he's done 26 albums, and half of them are just absolute masterpieces. And I even love New with Early Days, New, Queenie Eye, all that. And even Egypt Station has some good stuff on it. So, I mean, just the fact that he was able to make still able to write brilliant songs, make brilliant albums, even into his 50s, 60s, getting into his 70s. It's just, I don't know. To me, nobody else has done it better than him for as long as he's done it. That's my opinion. And the fact that he plays, not only sings, writes the songs, plays the bass, plays the electric guitar, plays the acoustic guitar, plays the piano, the keyboards, plays the ukulele, I don't know, whatever. He's just a master of all instruments. He can play the drums at times as well. He does it all. I saw him in concert, greatest concert of all time, bar none. I didn't even mention Live and Let Die is absolutely amazing. I mean, he's just one of the most amazing artists of all time. That's why he's right here at number 2 for me.
Great stuff. I picked up Paul McCartney's first solo album from 1970 and Ram 1971.
Yeah, I got that
I'd
right.
say Paul McCartney and Bob Dylan were, like, to me, it's like, it's crazy how, like, those two people could, like, be able to make so much good music throughout so many years. You hit the head on the nail there. Nail on the head. Love Paul McCartney.
My number 2, it's more of a personal thing, is Rush.
Okay.
When I heard Rush, it was like something clicked. I don't know what it was, but it's just like, I really like these guys. They make complex music that's really catchy, and I can't even put my finger on what I like about them. I just really like them. Their first album, yeah, it's Led Zeppelin light, but then you get Fly By Night with the epic By Tour on the Snow Dog. Anthem is epic. The title track is amazing, like Rivendell. Caress of Steel is an amazing album. I love Bastille Day. I Think I'm Going Bald is both epic and hilarious at the same time. Lakeside Park is a fantastic song. Necromancer is a cool Lord of the Rings inspired song. Fountain of Lamneth, this epic 20-minute song. 2112, the second Rush album I ever listened to. Title track is one of the best things I've ever heard. I love Twilight Zone, Lessons, Tears, Something for Nothing, Passage of Bangkok. Farewell to Kings is another amazing album. I love the title track. I love Xanadu. That song rocks. It's amazing. Closer to the Heart is a great song. Cinderella Man's very underrated. Cygnus X1, that's epic. Cygnus X1 Part 2, Hemisphere is also epic. The album Hemisphere's amazing. The Trees, that's a great song. Circumstances. La Via Strangiato is one of the greatest instrumentals I've ever heard. Permanent Waves, great follow-up, a lot less complicated, but still, like, they don't lose any of their excellence, even though it's not as long and complex. Spirit of Radio is fantastic. Jacob's Ladder is one of their best songs. Entre Nous, I like that song. Natural Science is, oh my goodness, I love Natural Science, that's amazing. Moving Pictures is one of my favorite albums of all time. All 8 songs on that album are perfect, so I'm not even going to list the names of them. Okay, maybe I will. Tom Sawyer, Red Barchetta, YYZ, Limelight, Camera Eye, Witch Hunt, and Vital Signs. I love all 8 of those. Or sorry, 7. I can't count. Signals is a very underrated album. I didn't like it the first time I heard it because I thought it was too different, but now I love it. I love Subdivisions. It's one of my favorite Rush songs. I love Analog Kid and Digital Man. Losing It is a very underrated song. Chemistry is good. I love Countdown. New World Man, that's a fantastic song. And I love their 3 synth the 80s albums as well. Grace Under Pressure, Power Windows, and Hold Your Fire. Yes, they get kind of dull after that, but everything up to this point is amazing. That's why they're my second favorite artist.
Awesome.
My number 2 is going to be Queen. I summoned Briar again.
3, and you had it 2, so top 3.
Out of the 3 of us, I'm the highest one. I'm the person who ranked it the highest.
I was very close to ranking. I kept flip-flopping. I was like, should The Who be higher than Queen? And then like, wait a second, maybe Queen should be my number 2 artist. But
yeah. Well, where do I begin? So Queen and the Who are like they have like to me the most 10 out of 10s for me. Um, they're just brilliant artists. Obviously, number two is Queen. Well, I will say uh, my number one's my number one for a reason, but number two, like 10 out of their 15 albums are 10 out of 10 albums for me, which
Wow.
that's like over 50% of their albums, which that's crazy. Um, their debut was awesome. Perfect album. It's like in my like top three favorite debut albums of all time. All this Queen love is making me happy.
You must be happy, Briar.
Yes. Speaking of which, when we're done with the video, do you want to join us at the end of stream party, Briar? If so,
I mean,
if
if
so,
Briar, we'd have 4 top 3. Queen would be in 4 of our
If
top.
you don't, I will say Queen until you join. Queen, Queen, Queen.
but
Probably have Queen pretty high too if he was on this list. But yeah.
Keep Yourself Alive, one of the greatest opening songs ever. Doing All Right is such a great track. Starts off soft, but then it gets really crazy at the end, in the middle, and then it gets soft again. Great King Grat, such
Yes.
a great song. My Fairy King is cool. It has Roger Taylor with the high notes. Liar, I agree, Scott. This song is epic.
Liar's I think Liar's probably my favorite song on that album. Either that or Keep Yourself Alive.
Yeah.
My favorite song on the album is Son and Daughter. That song is epic.
That's good.
That's in my top 3 as well.
The Night Comes Down is great. Modern Times Rock and Roll is such a fast-paced song. Jesus is a good song. Seven Seas of Rye, good hint as to what's going to happen in the next album. Queen 2, yet another 10 out of 10 album.
I love Queen.
Possession is a great opening instrumental. Father of the Sun is awesome. White Queen as it begins is such an epic song. Someday, One Day is a cool song. First lead song by Brian May. Loser in the End is a great song. Ogre Battle. This is the beginning of the Black Side. This is where the album.
Ogre Battle makes you scratch your head as soon as it starts with that. It's like the whole song is playing in reverse, but then it plays forward. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah. So, this is where the first half of the album is amazing, but the second half is brilliant and is top-notch music. Ogre Battle is great with the
We need to make a video of top 10 side 2s sometime. I want to make that video.
Yes. We could do it on your channel since you came up with
Yes.
the idea.
Because this would definitely be on that list.
That and Who Are You side 2.
Oh yeah, Abbey Road side 2, The Cars side 2, Synchronicity side 2.
Barry Feller's Master Stroke, Baroque song. You know me, I'm a sucker for Baroque songs. Nevermore is a beautiful song. It's so short. It's such a great song. The March of the Black Queen is one of the most epic songs that was ever made. Funny how Love is like a Phil Spector type song, and I really love it.
I love how the March of the Black Queen. Well, it's really all the songs other than the Seven Seas of Rye. They just go right into each other.
Yeah. Seven Seas of Rye is a great song, but probably one of my least favorites off the second side. But it's still epic. Sheer Heart Attack. We're 3 for 3 for the 10 out of 10 albums. Brian Rock, epic song. Killer Queen, such a great song.
Killer Queen.
Tenement Funster. It's such a Tenement Funster, Flick of the Wrist, and Lily of the Valley. Cool, awesome medley in the middle. Love that song. Those songs. Now I'm Here. Great way to close out the second side of the album. The first side of the album. Side 2, Drop the Needle. You get Roger Taylor screaming. It's just like In the Laps of the Gods. Epic song. So Cold Crazy is
Go crazy.
Proto Metal. Dear Friends is beautiful. Misfire is a really funny song. The first song that John Deacon wrote for an album. Bring Back That Leroy Brown.
Bring back that Leroy Brown.
Bring back.
Yes, that it's Bring Back the Leroy Brown, even though he's bad Leroy Brown. Two songs I really enjoy. That if I got a nickel for every song for every song that I like that has Leroy Brown in it, I would have two, which is not a lot, but it's strange that happened two times. She Makes Me. It's my favorite song on the album. Such a great song. Another awesome Brian May deep cut. In Lapse of the Gods Revisited is a brilliant way to end off the album. A Night at the Opera. They're now 4 for 4 with the 10 out of 10 albums. Death on Two Legs. Brilliant song, you know. Death on Two Legs. Tearing me apart.
One of the greatest diss track ever written.
Yes. That and Too Many People by Paul McCartney. Those two go hand in hand.
Yeah. And, Positively 4th Street from Bob Dylan.
That too. Lazy on a Sunday Afternoon is awesome. I've been loving my car. I disagree with you, Scott. I love this song.
It's all right. It's just like I'm in love with my car. Like, what the heck, man?
He's not really in love with his car.
No, I get that. It's a metaphor. What are you doing? What exactly are you doing to your car, Roger?
He's not the greatest songwriter in the group, probably, but
Not with this song. Radio Gaga is a really good song, and I love I love Sheer Heart Attack.
And A Kind of Magic. He also wrote that song.
okay.
You're My Best Friend. Really good song. 39. Best song on the album, in my opinion. Love the storytelling in it. Brian May is just brilliant. Another great Brian May deep cut. Sweet Lady isn't one of my favorites, but I still enjoy it in some aspect.
Guilty pleasure. We'll talk about it more whenever we because I know we're going to review Queen. That's going to be one of the first discussions.
Wait. Eventually we're going to review all the Queen albums on my channel. So
I've never said it before, but I love Sweet Lady.
Yes.
It's because everyone else seems to hate it for some reason.
I don't hate it. It's just not one of my favorites.
I laugh every time they say that.
You call me sweet like I'm some kind of cheese.
The way he says it, you call me sweet like I'm some kind of cheese.
Seaside Rendezvous, I love that song. The Prophet song is epic. Love of My Life is amazing. Great song to follow up that song. Good Company isn't one of the best songs either, but I could get a kick out of it.
That's fine.
Bohemian Rhapsody, epic song for a reason. It's Bohemian Rhapsody. God Save the Queen is amazing. They're 4 for 4 with their 10 out of 10s. Now for the 5th album, which I had it on display. Date the Races. Another 10 out of 10 album. Perfect album. Love every song on this album. Tie Your Mother Down. Take My Breath Away, which takes my breath away. Long Away. Yet another brilliant Brian May song. Millionaire's Waltz. You and I. Somebody to Love. White Man. Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, which is a guilty pleasure. Drowse, I love. Tio Toriopti, great closer. I want to tell you what my favorite song off this album is, but if I tell you what my favorite song off of it is today, I'm going to be honest, it will change the next day. When we did our album ranking, I said White Man was my favorite song on the album, but as of now, my favorite song on the album is Good Old Fashioned Lover Boy, but next week it could be Take My Breath Away, so it changes constantly. Like I said, it's my favorite Queen album.
You know, Nick, I'm not gonna disagree with you when you say all these Queen albums are 10 out of 10s. In fact, I'm starting to question if Queen might be one like needing to move up a few spaces in my ranking.
That's fair. I mean, you had them at number 3, so
they might like if I've only listened to some of these albums once or twice. If I listen to them more, they could be my number 2 or possibly my number 1.
Briar's like, oh, let's hope that happens. News of the World. Now they're 6 for 6, 10 out of 10s.
Wow.
Queen is they're firing at all 4 cylinders. I'm like, they just know how to impress me. We Will Rock You, We Are the Champions. As overplayed as those songs are, those are epic album openers. Sheer Heart Attack is epic. All Day,
Is that my food?
Spread Your Wings.
I
It's
sent
such
you the Zell.
a great song.
Thank you very much. I don't know you. I
don't know.
But
You could say Queen could go a couple of hot spaces.
Has a little onions on there.
perfect.
And just spicy.
Briar, that was funny.
Oh man, I missed a funny pun. Oh, well.
Yeah.
You
Briar.
can say Queen could go up a couple of hot spaces. Love it. Yeah, like I was mentioning, All Dead is great. Fight from the Spread Your Wings is great deep cut. Fight from the Inside is such an amazing song from Roger Taylor. Really, it's like such a rocking song. I really quite enjoy it. Get Down, Make Love. Just despite it being a little ridiculous, I've grown to really like it. I know Jason likes it, which I like.
I do. Get down, make love.
Love. Started liking it now. And the part I really like is in the middle when Freddie's like, every time I get high, you want to cool down. Every time I get high, you say you want to cool down.
I liked it a lot better the last time I listened to the News of the
good.
World.
Good.
Especially hearing those sound effects over my speakers.
Mhm.
The sound effects grew on me too. You know what? I love the sound effects. I'm not gonna say it's like top tier Queen. I'm not gonna say it's like in my top 10 songs, but I love that song. Sleeping on the Sidewalk. I love that song. Who Needs You is a really underrated song. It's Late is my favorite song on the album. It's so epic.
Me too.
My Melancholy Blues I really enjoy. Again, they're 6 for 6 and 10 out of 10s. I'm like, they just know how to make an album. Now they follow that up with jazz. Do they keep up the streak of 10 out of 10s or do they fall short? Well, they do. 10 out of 10. Another 10 out of 10. So they're 7 for 7. It's crazy. That is nuts. Mustafa, awesome song. Fat Bottom Girls is an epic rock song. Jealousy is a great deep cut. Bicycle Race I really enjoy. If you can't beat them, join them. I love. Let Me Entertain You grew on me. I love that song now. Dead on Time. That song is so underrated. I love that song. Get on time. Get on time. Love that song. It's like, yo, damn.
I feel like News of the World has more Mercury on it than other albums because some of the other albums are more divided between the members, but
Really?
News of the World has a lot of Mercury on it.
Yeah. In Only 7 Days. Oh, such a beautiful song. Dreamer's Ball, I love. Fun It. It's such a groovy song. Every time in the morning, should have a good time. All right. Oh, man, I love that song. Leaving Home Ain't Easy is really good. Come on. Don't Stop Me Now is epic. If you could tell me with a straight face that you don't like that song, I'll quote Jason as what he said about Who Are You? You are not a fan of music. Even though More Like Jazz isn't really the best closer, it's still a really good song.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're 7 for 7. I will say they do go a little off course with the game. I'll give that an 8 out of 10. There are some songs I'm not as into, like Don't Try Suicide. I'm not into. I've heard another one by Says Us one too many times. Same with Crazy Little Thing Called Love. Coming Soon is awful. But there are some really good songs on here. Dragon Attack is awesome. Need Your Love Tonight is great. Rocket Prime Drive is great. Stay Away, Sweet Sister, which is my favorite song on the album. Yeah, this is a really, really good album. Even though it's not 10 out of 10 worthy, I still really like it. Flash Gordon. I'm not going to go into it. I'm just going to say there is one really good song on there, which is The Hero. But yeah, it's a weak album. I'm going to be honest. They do bring it back up, though, with Hot Space. So I think that's a 10 out of 10 album. I never got the hate for this album. This album has always been one of my favorites. Staying Power's awesome. Dancer's great. Back Chat is awesome. Body Language is a cool song to me. It's not like a song that doesn't really have any deep meaning towards it, but it's such a fun song. Action This Day is probably my least favorite, but I still like it. Put Out the Fire. People say this is like a sellout album, but I'm like, this song is awesome. Life is Real. Tribute to John Lennon. Calling All Girls. Great song by Roger Taylor. Las Palabras de Amor. That song is amazing. When people say, oh, only Under Pressure is good, Las Palabras de Amor is amazing. Cool Cat, I love so much. Under Pressure. Even though it's a great song, it's probably one of my least favorites from the album.
Really?
It's still great, but again, I've heard it one too many times. The Works, another 10 out of 10 album for me.
Yeah, really good album.
This album's awesome. Radio Gaga, Tear It Up, Hard Life, Man on the Prowl, Machines, I Want to Break Free, Keep on Passing the Open Window, Hammer to Fall, Is This the World We Created? Great songs. Kind of Magic is really good. I love One Vision. That song is amazing. Kind of Magic, I love. 1 Year of Love is pretty good. Pain is Close to Pleasure is great. Friends Will Be Friends is awesome. Wants to Live Forever is amazing. Give Me the Prize. That song grew on me. Don't Lose Your Head is great. I give this a 9 out of 10. Princess of the Universe. You know what? I said I didn't like it at first, but before the ranking, but I now love this song. Even then, now I still love this song. Jason and Briar convinced me to like it, and they did a good job because I love this song.
The album.
Yeah, I love that song. The Miracle. I'll give it an 8 out of 10. It's a good album, but they're like the first two songs I'm not as into. Like Party and Kashmir Ship is not that good. My Baby Does Me is okay. But the rest of the album's really good, actually. The Miracle. Oh, I love that song. I want it all. I want it all. And I want it now. Oh, I love that song. The Invisible Man is a guilty pleasure. Breakthrough. Breakthrough is awesome. Rain Must Fall is amazing. Scandal. Oh, love that song. Was it all worth it? Right Closer. You know what? Now that I think about it, this is a 9 out of 10 album, so not a great album. What's interesting is that in 1991, they make another 10 out of 10 album. This is their 10th 10 out of 10 album. I'm like, they lasted this long and they still managed to put out a great album. Innuendo.
Yeah.
Title track is awesome. I'm Going Slightly Mad I like a lot. I really love Headlong. Oh, I love Headlong so much. I can't live with you. I can't live without you. Love that song. Don't Try So Hard is pretty good. Ride the Wildland I like. All God's People was probably my least favorite, but I still think it's okay. These Are the Days of Our Lives. Like, this song is amazing.
Yeah.
Delilah is a funny song about cats.
Yeah.
The Hitman. It's a rocking song. People call it filler, but I love The Hitman. And can't go on talking about this album without talking about The Show Must Go On. I mean, The Show Must Go On is such a... It's one of those songs that, gives me goosebumps every time I listen to it. It's an epic song. Yeah, such great, bookends. You got Innuendo, which is an epic song. It's like Bohemian Rhapsody, it's like another Bohemian Rhapsody. It's such an epic song. And then There's So Much Go On. That's the last song. Oh man, I'll never get tired of this album. Uh, Made in Heaven is not one of the best albums. Still probably one of the weaker albums, but I still think it's pretty good, you know. But
Okay.
I mean, it does have a track called Untitled, which
That song, it just
it goes way too long.
it about ruins the whole thing.
It does. I mean, there are some good songs on there, like Made in Heaven, Mother of Love, I Was Born to Love You, Too Much Love Will Kill You. It's good, but man, that Untitled track really puts it way low on my list. But I know I went way too long talking about Queen, but I feel like Queen's just one of those big bands that should be talked about more than they should. I know people know Queen. I know people like Queen, but I don't know. It's just Queen's just like one of those bands that people don't recognize enough for the albums. Like, you know, when people think albums, most people think the Beatles and maybe the Led Zeppelin, but I think Queen should get more recognition for the albums.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my number 2. Went way too long on that, but Jason, what's your number 1?
All right. Number 1 favorite band artist is the Quarrymen, actually. It's a local band from Liverpool that got together by an orphan guy named John Lennon. And I think maybe Pete Shotton maybe was in there. Anyways, then 15-year-old Paul McCartney joined in, and the band got a little bit better. And then a young George Harrison joined in, and it got even better. And they put out songs like In Spite of All the Danger and Three Cool Cats and My Bonnie. And, well, then they changed their name to the Beatles, and, you know, they really took off at that point. Eventually joined by a Ringo Starr, and that kind of completed the group. And, you know, probably considered the biggest band of the 60s, some might say. When we look at their overall record sales, number 1 hits, sold out concerts, screaming girls, movies. I mean, the style, the long hair, the suits, just a pop culture phenomenon. And honestly, you know me, I'm the biggest Beatles fan out there. Absolutely loved them since I was about 10 years old when I first discovered them. And again, been listening to the album so many times. I know them like the back of my hand. Sometimes I'm like no other band do I know as well as I do the Beatles. I did a whole Beatles stream celebrating their 70 years or 60 years when they came to America, and was on the Ed Sullivan Show February 9th, 1964. Showed all my books I have on the Beatles, showed all my DVDs on the Beatles, showed, you know, all my music on the Beatles. I even have a Beatles trivia game out there. Yeah, anything Beatles, I'm just absolutely in love with, because I don't know, the magic just caught me as a young age, where I just love their harmonies, love their poppy rock songs, their ballads, and then even their experimental music later on. Their psychedelic music is just absolutely amazing. All of it. And you got 2 of the greatest songwriters, the greatest songwriting duo of all time, in my opinion. John Lennon and Paul McCartney wrote some of the greatest songs of that period. Yeah, like I said, so many number 1s. And then you know, I guess you don't talk about their musicianship, but at the time they're, I think, considered one of the great musicians, bass playing, guitar playing, and drumming. You know, they don't talk about the drumming as much maybe, but I still think they were great at that time period for what they were doing. But yeah, I mean, what do you say? I did a whole video ranking all their songs. I mean, that's how much I love them. And yeah, I can't name them all. I mean, there's too many to name, but you know, albums, we're going through them. I mean, for me, Help, Rubber Soul, Revolver's some of the greatest albums ever made, and that's not even counting Hard Day's Night, Sgt. Pepper's, Abbey Roads, Magical Mystery Tour, White Album, Let It Be. I all these albums are in my top 100 favorite albums of all time. I mean, nobody will have as many probably as they do as far as like great albums, and 10s out of 10s, 9.5s all over the board, you know. Yeah, they're just, I don't know, just partly it's just the music is amazing. Like I said, the harmonies are just so good. I love harmonies. I love their harmonies. Paul and John singing together is the best thing in the world, I think, you know, and he had George in there as well. But just talk about Paul McCartney and John Lennon, like I said, just monuments of, you know, rock history, you know, as far as singing, songwriting, playing, arranging music, experimentation in the studio, just set so many standards at that time. It's an absolutely incredible. And they went on to have good solo careers as well, which is crazy. As I already have Paul McCartney number 2 on my list, and then the Beatles are number 1. So Paul McCartney is part of 2 of my favorite of all time, right there. Tells you a lot what I think about him. Yesterday is my favorite song of all time. Closely by Let It Be is probably my second favorite of all time. So I mean, you're talking my top 10 favorite Beatles songs are like some of the best Beatles songs of all time. If I make a favorite song list, they're all high up on that list. And like I said, I haven't got to them on my top. I got 8 more albums to talk about, and there's 3 Beatle albums I still haven't talked about, and they're coming up on my favorite albums of all time, you know, just to say. But yeah, what more can I say? They're not only the music, but also the personalities, and, you know, watching their movies and watching them in interviews. They're just great showmen, I think, and great entertainers overall. But yeah, I'm sure they'll be talked about more here, but what can I say? Just for me, the greatest band of all time, the Beatles.
Have you ever just thought, like, is there just that one artist that when I hear them is going to be like, wow, this is the best artist of all time? Something like, am I missing out on something? If I just find this one artist, will it, like, just, I'm going to just find the one artist that I just feel is better than all the others? And that is exactly what I found when I found the Alan Parsons Project last year. Yeah, surprising.
Yeah, it's a little surprised.
What are you laughing at? What are you laughing at?
Oh, hold on. Wait. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. Oh my god.
In all seriousness, my number 1 is the Beatles.
They're coming.
Um,
Alan Parsons Project. Wow.
I was like, they're good, but they're not that good.
Like, oh, okay.
So yeah. I have been a fan of the Beatles since I discovered them when I was like 13, 14 years old. Their music was just absolutely amazing. And then when I was 17, I got Sgt. Pepper. It made me really get into albums and not just like songs. From there, I discovered Rubber Soul, which is an amazing album. Then I discovered Abbey Road, my all-time favorite album. It's like everything they've ever put out is really good, other than a few songs on Beatles for Sale, which are not so good, and Revolution number 9. But pretty much all their other stuff I really like. John, Paul, George, and Ringo are all very good songwriters and singers. Yes, Ringo is a good drummer. It's just like, when I heard them, I just wanted to get all their albums, and some of their albums are the priciest albums that I've bought, and just because I want to get the original copies, but I bought them as collector's items, and I don't just collect them, I play them on the regular. So that should show you how much I really like the Beatles, and I'm really excited to get to go through this series with Jacob, getting to do the album reviews. Yep, that's my number 1.
Good choice.
My number one,
It is not the Beatles.
it's definitely not the Beatles. Yeah, if you would have asked me this years ago, yes, but after discovering so much artists, they're not even in my top 10. But I will admit they have paved the way for so many artists. My number one is it's gonna be a shock to some people because I used to say this band was my favorite, but I even have them in the background. But of course, my number one is going to be Kate Bush. Kate Bush is the greatest. You know, the way she ran up the hill, she's definitely the greatest.
Wow.
That's about it.
Briar pay you.
Yep, Kate Bush is the greatest. But yeah, that's my number one. Thank you guys for watching. Nah, I'm just kidding. It's the Who. Yeah, they're my number one. They're the greatest. They will always be the greatest. Where do I even begin? We got one of the greatest guitarists of all time. One of the, in my opinion, probably the greatest songwriter of all time, Pete Townsend. I named my YouTube channel after him. You see that logo on the top right? That's me. That's Townsend right there.
Yeah.
Well, he's amazing. Keith Moon, one of the all-time greatest drummers. Man knew how to drum. Roger Daltrey, even though he's my least favorite, dude knew how to screech it out.
Yeah.
He knew how to fit the image, and you know, no one can replace Daltrey in the Who. And you know, the Ox and Whistle, he's the greatest bassist of all time, bar none. And the fact that was his secondary instrument, because you know, his first instrument was the French horn, and they got switched out. Like they're like, oh, you'll never make it out as a French horn player.
Mm-hmm.
So then he was like, you know what? I'll switch it up to be a bassist. The fact that the first instrument he played wasn't the bass just proved how great he was. He just,
yeah.
Oh man, it's just mind blowing to me. He just, oh, Kate Bush, another artist that will summon me. But that's just going over the band members. The Who. My generation, greatest debut album of all time. 10 out of 10 for me. Brilliant album. Got My Generation, one of the craziest rock songs. You know, I Know You Really Got Me was like the first one to really, like, by the Kinks was the one that really, like, started it all. But My Generation was what perfected it to me. Those songs are amazing too. Out on the Street, I Don't Mind, Good's Gone, Lulla Lies, Much Too Much, Please, Please, Please. It's Not True. Lyrics are nonsensical, but I love it. You know, I haven't got 11 kids. I was welding back then. I'm not half Chinese either, and I didn't kill my dad. Like, oh, great song. You know, I love I'm a Man. It's not one of my favorites off that album, but I still love that song.
Yeah.
The way Daltrey sings that song. At the age of 10, at the age of 5, I'm a man now. Bum, 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 bum. I spell lamb. Hey, and all you pretty women stand up in a long line. Oh, I love that song. Legal Matter, great song. The Ox. Top 3 favorite instrumentals of all time. This is one of them. The Ox. I forgot what I think it was called Tank. It was like an Emerson, Lake and Palmer song. And the YYZ, 3 favorite instrumentals. But the Ox is got the crazy drumming going on. You got the bass going on, sounding like a guitar. That's where Whistle got his nickname, the Ox. And you got Nicky Hopkins going crazy on piano. It's just like, that's their explosive way in ending off their debut album. That album never gets old to me. 10 out of 10. A quick one. Perfect album to me. 10 out of 10. Run, Run, Run. Boris the Spider. I Need You. Great, like, I love it. I Need You because, like, it's like Keith Moon writing a song about, like, it's like a sort of like a thing towards the Beatles or whatever. Funny song. Whiskey Man, I love that song. Heat Wave, what a great cover. Cobwebs and Strange, guilty pleasure of mine. I've always loved that track. The way that Keith Moon goes crazy on the drums. Don't Look Away, I love. See My Way. Oh man, I love that song. So Sad About Us. I love that song. Last song on the album, Quick One Ways Away. That song is just amazing. It's like his first ever opera, Pete Townsend. I'm like, oh man, like, you know, there's so much going into that song. Her man's been gone for many of years. He was due home yesterday, but he ain't here. And there's like a part where it's like ooh, great song. I love the part where it's like, my name is Ivor. I'm an engine driver. That part John Entwistle sings. I love the part where like cello, 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 cello. I can't believe this. Am I back in your arms? It must be. It was like I must admit I kissed a few and sat on. It's like sat on the Andrew Driver's lap and later had a nap, and then like at the end the character's like all's forgiven. But we'll talk about another album where I have a theory where all wasn't forgiven, but we'll go to that soon. Next album, I mean, The Who Sell Out, to me, the greatest album of all time. It's like such a unique album. No other band has ever came up with something like this. I don't think there will ever be an album as unique and as interesting as this album. Harmony of Seeing the Sky is such a brilliant song to open up the album. Heinz Baked Beans is a funny song. Marianne with the Shaky Hand. What a great, love that pop song. Odorono, song about deodorant. Pete Townsend sings his heart out on that song. Tattoo, love Tattoo. I Love Was is brilliant. I Can See for Miles is epic.
Mm-hmm.
I Can't Reach You, love that song. Badak I really like. Relax I love. Silas Stingy's amazing. Sunrise, I love that song. Rael, in my top 3 favorite songs of all time. You know, that song, Take Me Home, Country Roads, and Teach Your Children, those 3 songs will always be some of my favorite songs ever. Then you go into the Tommy album, and it's like, you got this big album about a guy named Tommy who goes blind, deaf, and dumb. And this album's amazing. Captain Walker, which is kind of like, if you look back on the previous album, which with Rael, it's a funny song because it's like, Captain Walker didn't come home. Unborn child didn't know him. And then like that that goes into It's a Boy, where it's like, it's a boy, Mrs. Walker, it's a boy. A son, a son, a son. Great song. 1921. I believe 21 is going to be a good year. I remember seeing in the comment section in like 2021, I was like, oh, this is 21. It's like, you didn't hear it, you didn't saw it, you never heard it. Great song. Amazing Journey, great song. Sparks, great instrumental. Eyesight to the Blind is an epic song. Daltrey really kills it on this song. Christmas is a great song. Cousin Kevin, I really enjoy. The Acid Queen, love that song. Underture, I love that track now. I used to not like it, but I started to really grow on it. Do you think it's all right? It's a fun song. I'm not a fan of the words on Fiddle About, but it's a I like the instrumentation on it. It's pretty good. Pinball Wizard. It's Pinball Wizard. Nothing really. That
beginning.
Ever since I was young boy, I played a silver ball. It's just like, Super plays a mean pinball. The harmonies on the song too is surprising because Who isn't really known for having great harmonies. The harmonies on the song is actually really good. There's a Doctor, great song. I love that song to death, even though it's like a short little intermission. Going in the Mirror, great story behind this song for me. Is that I was watching reactions to the classic, and I was starting to watch their videos more, and I hear the song as a request. I'm like, huh. Someone requested Go to the Mirror. I'm like, who requested this? And surely enough, someone by the name of SoundLab Studios was like, I did. I'm like, this is a really good song. And then like,
I'm best friends.
Scott was like, John Lennon likes, because back then my username used to be John Lennon. He's like, John Lennon likes the Who, and he's requesting Holly songs.
That was the first thing I put because I just saw his name was John Lennon, and I put, oh my gosh, John Lennon is alive and he's a fan of the Hollies.
This is big news.
Yeah, I love that song is so good, and of course, me and Scott talked more, and you know, we did our Who ranking, and Go to the Mirror will always hold a soft spot to me because of that. I always have a soft spot for Go to the Mirror. But it's always been a great song to me. Tommy, Can You Hear Me? Fun song. Tommy, can you hear me? Can you feel or hear me? Tommy, can you see me? Ooh, Tommy. And then Smash the Mirror. It's like the anger starts to build up and then smashes the mirror. And then the character starts to feel sensation, and that's how side 3 ends. Side 4, Miracle Cure, is such a great song, but side 4 is my favorite side on this album. It's Sally Simpson, love that song. I'm Free, Welcome. Tommy's Holiday Camp is a fun song. I love that song. We're Not Gonna Take It. Every song on this album is hitting for me. 10 out of 10, 3 for 3. Now we're on to Who's Next. Baba O'Reilly, such an iconic song for good reasons. Bargain, I love that song. Love Ain't for Keeping, I love that song too. My Wife, I love that song. This song is Over is brilliant. Gain in Tune and Song is Over is great as Nicky Hopkins. I feel like Nicky Hopkins would have been a great Who member, but alas, he never was. He's like the Ian Stewart of the Who. Going Mobile. You know what? I've been high in this for way too long. I actually love this song.
I think it's a good song.
I really love this song. Behind Blue Eyes is... Come on, it's Behind Blue Eyes. Won't Get Fooled Again. That's how you end an album off.
Did you just say you like Going Mobile?
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it.
Good.
And before I continue off to the next album, they were going to do an album project called Lifehouse, and oh man, if they would have did Lifehouse, how great that would have been. Quadrophenia, to me, the greatest double album of all time. Bar none for me. I Am the Sea, what an ominous way of opening the album up. The Real Me. This album showcases why I think John Entwistle's the greatest bassist of all time. He is killing it on every song on the album. The Real Me. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, man. And then the way that Daltrey singing it. Can you see the real me? Can ya? Can ya? I love that song. Quadrophenia, epic instrumental. Cut My Hair, love that song. I always joke around like Crosby almost cut his hair, but
Almost.
Pete Sampras did cut his hair.
Mhm.
I love the callbacks to their songs, like "Zoot Zoot." Love that callback. Pump Beats the Godfather. That song is epic. Side 2, I'm One. Love that song. Dirty Jobs, I love. Helpless Dancer. Oh man, it's such an epic song. Like Daltrey's just belting it out, and I love at the end where they do "The Kids Are All Right." I love that they do that. Is it in my head? Is it in my head? Love that song. I've had enough. Closes out the second, the second side really well. Disc 2, 515. I love this song. Brilliant song. Sea and Sand and Drowned has really grown on me. I love those songs. Bellboy. Love me some Bellboy. Keith Moon on the vocals. Dr. Jimmy. I will say it is a little problematic, but I still love the song.
Yeah.
I feel like instead of what they did with the lyrics, I feel like it should have been, "What is it? I'll take it. Who is he? I'll break it." I feel like that would have been a better lyric. What is it? I'll take it. Who is he? I'll break it. I'll break him.
Same thing with "We're Not Gonna Take It." Like we forsake you, gonna break you. That rhymes better too.
Yeah. But you think that would have been better, Scott? Like, what is he? I'll break it. That would have been cooler.
Yeah.
But I do like the "Is it me for a moment?" That part is awesome.
I'm sad though that John Entwistle's theme is regulated just to the second half of this song. He needs this whole song.
I know, I agree. The Rock is a great instrumental, and Love Rainer Me is such an epic closer. Again, another 10 out of 10 for me. Who by Numbers? I mean, Quadrophenia and Who by I'll argue and say that they're 11 out of 10 albums. That's how great those two albums are. Who by Numbers is a great album. Another 10 out of 10 album for me. Slip Kid, However Much I Blues. Squeeze Box is a funny song. Dreaming from the Waist is awesome. Imagine a Man. Love that song. Success Story is epic. Love that song. That should have been the big hit off this album. They're All in Love. Love that song. I love the part where Daltrey's like, "Where do you fit in magazine?" I love that part. Blue, Red, and Gray. I sometimes get a tear from that song. It's such a beautiful song.
Yeah, that's good.
How Many Friends is really good. And In the Hand of Fate, In the Hand or Face is a great song. It reminds me of a song that would be on Quadrophenia. Another 10 out of 10 album for me. Are You? Another album I'll argue to be an 11 out of 10 album for me. This album is a masterpiece. I'm so glad we could all agree on this, especially you, Jason. I was afraid that you weren't going to like it, but
Really?
when you said that this was a 10 out of 10 album, I'm like, yes. As a Who fan, I feel proud about that. I love New Song. It's catchy. They write the same old songs with a few new lines, and everybody wants to hear it. They got that same old song. Great song. I feel like, you know what? I earlier when I was talking about the Who, and when I started talking about the Who, on my number one, I said that he's my least favorite band member. Daltrey is my favorite band member on this album.
Yeah.
Daltrey really killed it with his vocals.
Yeah.
Had enough. Awesome song. 905 is amazing. Sister Disco, I love. Music Must Change. Trick of the Light. Guitar and Pen. Love Is Coming Down. The title track. It's like, you got these 9 amazing songs, right? One after another. Like, this is a if I've ever seen one. And it's only my third favorite Who album. So, got 3 albums I call 11 out of 10 albums. So, to me, the Who will always be the best. And going into the 80s stuff, I love their 80s stuff. I love Face Dances and It's Hard. Those are 9 out of 10 albums. I wouldn't consider them the perfect like the other ones, but I really like You Better Bet. I like Don't Let Go of the Code. I like The Quiet One. How Can You Do It Alone? Daily Records, You, Another Tricky Day. Those are good songs. Cashy Cashy, I'm not into, and Did You Steal My Money is, in my opinion, their worst song.
Steal my money.
Did you steal my money? Like, ugh.
Did you steal my money?
It's hard. I would give it a 9.75 out of 10. It's almost a 10 out of 10, but it gets a little samey. But I mean, its front is awesome. You know what? I was listening to these two albums before. I was listening to two particular albums before we started making this video, and you know what? I really enjoy Endless Wire and Who now.
Good. I thought they were pretty good.
I had to re-listen to them before this stream so that I could give a definitive answer.
Okay.
I love Endless Wire. I love the opera at the end. I like Fragments, Milk Post Theme. Man in a Purple Dress is amazing. Endless Wire I like. Who? I love All This Music Must Fade. That's a great song.
Yeah, that's good.
Bell and Chain is pretty good. Detour is good. I'll Be Back. Rocket and Cage. Wrecking and Rage, I mean. She Rock Lower. It's a pretty good album. I give Endless Wire an 8 out of 10. And I give Who a 7 out of 10. So, you know what? You got 6 in my opinion, 6 10 out of 10 albums. No, 5 10 out of 10 albums. You got 3, I would argue, 11 out of 10. And then you got one that's 9.75. I'm like, to me, easily. And I didn't even go over their non-album singles. Pictures of Lily, Magic Bus, Substitute, I'm a Boy. I don't know. To me, they'll always be the greatest band for me. Greatest artist. To me, it's bar none.
Yeah.
Number 1, The Who.
The Who, Queen, and Led Zeppelin all made it in our top 10. So those are the 3 that made it in. I think the Beatles and Rush made it in 2 of ours. So that's kind of the
Yeah.
that's where we kind of agreed on those 5 bands. But
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, do you guys have anything? You two want to say anything before we close out?
There is lots of great music out there, and it's not limited just to the 10 artists on our list. But these are our favorites.
we probably covered, I'm gonna say 25 maybe different artists. I don't know what
There's a lot of variety.
I bet we covered a lot of different artists on here, which is pretty amazing.
Well, Briar, if you're still watching this, I dropped the link down again if you want to join us for the after stream party. Thank you guys for watching this. This is a pretty long video, 3 hours. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you guys in the next one. So long.